Possibly. Welcome to episode 140 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. And again, it's a shuffling co-host. Robert's here. He just got here, so he's still setting up. How's it going, Robert?
Huh?
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm joking. It's going. It's going.
And then filling in for Katie tonight is Travis. I'm not even gonna say his last name. If you don't know who he is at this point, what's it matter? How's it going, Travis?
It's been a fun day.
Do you have an actual microphone set up and everything?
Yes, I do. I have an actual microphone.
And you have headphones in? Look at you.
And headphones in.
What?
You should know that I've got this stuff.
Your microphone's on like a fancier arm than ours. You look like Howard Stern there, just swinging that big old microphone in your face. Anyways, before we get to our guest, let me go ahead and do our sponsor stuff. I don't have Katie here. So if you're looking for a rack or a cage or a hide or a sign or stuff made out of PVC, at this point, if you don't know, it's Lone Star Reptile Racks. lsreptileracks.com. Get you a cage. Cages are going quick.
I just sold 2.
See, cages are going quick.
The 2 that I have built for the show this weekend.
40-gallon breeders?
The 240 4x2x2s.
4x2x2s.
To a Cobra guy.
Those 40-gallon breeder size ones have been selling really well too.
Yeah. Rachel sold 2 this weekend.
Sold
2. And Repticulture just told me today they want 2 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going pretty good.
Those are great because they fit, like I said, if you have a 40-gallon stand, they fit directly on a 40-gallon stand, the exact same size and dimensions. So reach out to Lone Star Reptile Racks today. Get a rack delivered or pick one up at a show. Herps. Let me go ahead and do Herps. We had a Herp show in Lafayette. We had our last Herp show in Lafayette.
Yeah, I'm sad now that I missed that one because I like Lafayette.
Oh,
Wait. No, I don't like Lafayette. I like Lafayette, the food in
Lafayette.
The
food, yes. Yeah. On the way home, we stopped at Billy's.
I know. You posted about it.
I did. I got boudin balls. I got crawfish balls. We got crawfish pies. We got crawfish pistolets. I got frozen boudin balls so I can cook them at some point. I should have got frozen pistolets because those were freaking amazing too. And then, so yeah, that was I got tons of food. And my voice is pretty rough right now because Saturday night we went to football game because luckily the weekend of the Herps show in Lafayette, Troy, my alma mater, was playing Lafayette, the University of Lafayette.
Yeah, it never works like that, but it did for you.
It did for that, and we got to go to the game, and we won it in the last 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's why neither of you can talk.
Oh, I was screaming my ass off.
LSU beat Bama this weekend.
So we watched our game. We won it in the last 5 seconds, and we were down 17-0 and came back and won in 5 seconds.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then we got back to the hotel to sit down with Douglas Ray White and Natasha and Marge and Flavius. And we all watched the LSU game there, and Tasha was hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Rachel told me.
Yeah.
Doug makes her go sit across the room.
She's yelling at the TV like she's coaching. So we watched that game. Then we flipped over and watched the last half inning of the Astros game where the Astros won. They apparently won some big game this weekend.
Mm-hmm. The biggest of the games.
Yeah, that's something happened. And then I went upstairs and I watched on my phone the very end and overtime of the Mississippi State game. I'm a Mississippi State fan, and Mississippi State beat Auburn.
Oh.
I'm all for games now that maybe just go up by like 20 and stay up by 20. I'm tired of having to cheer all the way through overtimes and stress. But
I left my house at 1:30 in the morning, Friday night, Saturday morning
to dodge tornadoes.
Drove to Fort Worth, got there at 6:30, started setting up at 7, unloading and setting up at 7
by yourself.
By myself. Well, I do have to say that the SMS boys,
good,
Sean and Braden, they were a lifesaver, and so was John.
Dax didn't do shit for you, did he?
No,
but that's not fair.
Moral support. But I didn't need him. But he got over there. I was like, man, we're good. They already got it unloaded. John Herp on Facebook. I can't think of his real name. Nash. Burning Ember Exotics. Anyway, they all helped me get it unloaded. And but my tracks for my doors for the cages didn't come until Friday afternoon. They're supposed to be here Wednesday. They sat at a UPS hub for 2 days and they wouldn't let me come get them. Because I'm like, just let me, I don't care if it's 2 hours. I'll go get them. I need them. So I had to cut all those that morning and to glue them all in.
Yeah.
And set up a whole show. So then I've ended a show all day, which doesn't end until 6.
By myself.
Yeah,
there was 2. You did 2 shows. Rachel was with us in Lafayette, and you were in.
Couldn't go wait in line to get food. It was like I just had to abandon the table to go to the bathroom a couple times because. Anyway, and then got back to the house, took a shower, decided I was hungry because I realized I hadn't eaten anything since Bucky's breakfast taco at 3 a.m. And by this time it's like 7:30. And so I went and met Repticulture folks for dinner, like 4 minutes from the house. Went back and got back just in time to see Yordan Alvarez hit the 3-run homer, which completely woke me up. So I stayed up, watched the game, and as soon as it was over, Rachel called me. Astros won. I was like, good night. And I passed out. And then Russell wakes me up at midnight to get my keys to my truck because there was a 6-foot croc monitor loose at the venue. And the security guard.
Was it his 6?
No.
Oh, okay.
Security guard that walks around the venue at night saw it and called the guy who runs that show and said, there's a fucking T-Rex loose in here. Please somebody. So he called Matt Fank, and Matt and Russell, and their truck was blocked in by one of the other people at our Airbnb, so they couldn't get out. I was parked on the street. I barely remember them getting my keys. I remember them saying, you want to go? I just put my head back down. And so Matt and Brandy, and who's smaller than the croc monitor, and Wade, who works for Matt, and then Russell, they went up there and captured it on Repticulture's table.
Nice.
Yeah. That's probably the most dangerous animal at a non-venomous show, a 6-foot croc monitor.
Yes.
That's not but Russell, he's done all of it. So they caught it. And then we get there Sunday morning, and there's probably a 10-foot retic just cruising down one of the aisles.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Same people that the croc monitor belonged to.
So you'll like this one. I knew this was going to happen, and it did. So Saturday, I'm walking around the show at Lafayette. I promise we'll get to our guest and our other co-host in just a second. But I got this. You'll love the story. So I'm walking around, and on one of the tables, it's a vendor I've never seen. It's their first show. And you'll never guess what they decided to store their ball pythons. And not all of them were babies. Like, these were adult ball pythons. They were in cake boxes, like cheap cardboard with the clear, like almost cellophane top cake boxes.
New vendors.
Taped. Yep.
Yeah, they'll learn.
Taped together. And I thought to myself, yeah, these are going to get out. And so we're sitting there watching the game Saturday night. I'm telling Doug and Tosh and everybody about it. I'm like, yeah, they're going to get out. They're going to break out. We get in the next morning, two of them busted through the cake boxes. Cause like, it's a fucking cardboard box held together with Scotch tape. Like, how did you think that was going to work? Like, even if that's your setup, even if you're like, I'm going to be different, nobody else has this, put the motherfuckers in a box at the end of the night, a tub that latches. Yeah. Like, so they learned that cutesy is not the way to go.
Nope.
So,
nope. Justin, I appreciate that, man. I will definitely keep that in mind. Justin's one of my customers.
Oh yeah.
I bet we'll see them at Pearland this weekend, because we generally see them at all the Houston area shows.
So real quick before we bring in our guest, I'll do Herps.
Yeah.
Since you brought that up, Herps, we have the show this weekend, the Pearland show. It's our home show. Come visit us November 12th and 13th in Pearland, just south of Houston, by like 10 minutes. And then Austin, Texas, December 3rd and 4th. Slidell, Louisiana, is December 10th and 11th. That's the last one of the year. Then there is Oklahoma. And then my mouse has disappeared. There we go. Now I can slide it. Longview, January 21st and 22nd. And then the Conroe show, January 28th and 29th. And then there's some other ones. We'll get to those later. But so, yes, that is the Herp shows. Also, Wiregrass Exotics. If you're in the Wiregrass area of Alabama, go visit Wiregrass Exotics for all your feeder needs, all your reptile needs. And
if you're in the Wiregrass area of Alabama, you know it. Especially if you live there.
Yeah, it's Wiregrass. Dothan, Troy.
Outside of that, I'd never heard of it until I met them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Southeast.
I don't know that I've ever been to. I think the only Alabama I've ever been to is like I-10 going to Florida.
That's right. That's for like just a little bit. Yeah. That's the smallest part of Alabama.
Right. Yeah. I don't think I've spent.
Yeah. Wiregrass area is where I went to high school and college. So I know the area pretty well.
Where are the casinos at? Are those in Alabama or Mississippi?
Mississippi.
Okay.
Mobile. Yeah. Not Mobile. Biloxi.
Yep.
Sorry. Unless you listen to, is it Fred Durst in the one live concert from Biloxi? And he says Biloxi. And I just want to slap him every time I hear it. Yeah. That's not the only reason I want to slap.
Yeah, Fred Durst for.
That's not the only reason I want to slap Fred Durst.
I want to slap him for inciting the riot at Woodstock '99.
I don't remember that.
Oh, that was 100% his fault.
Just figure you just want to slap Fred Durst because he's Fred Durst.
You know.
I mean, yeah.
Travis like, don't really need a reason. Right. It's just Fred Durst.
Exactly. You need a reason to slap Fred Durst?
If we're starting a list, that'd be a great book. Reasons to slap Fred Durst.
There you go.
Just coffee table book.
The book would be 1 page long.
Right.
Because it's Fred Durst.
Just a picture of Fred.
Done.
Yeah.
Travis, how's it going up there? Do you have winter yet?
I mean, maybe.
No, we don't.
So it was like 75 over the weekend. And I think today's high was 50. So
That would be nice. Yeah, no, I think our high may have been like 85, 90 in November. So, oh well. Let's go ahead and get to our guests. Our guests sitting there waiting, and then we can bullshit about everything else. Let me go ahead.
Apparently, a falconer lost a red-tailed hawk this weekend right here at Camp Mohawk and kind of by Brad Spence State Park.
Yeah.
Said it's flying around with a 3-foot leash on it somewhere. And people are like, it's in talk of Alvin. You can imagine the responses. I saw a huge hawk fly. It's just a red tail. It's not huge. It's just a regular red tail. I saw
Jack. It was white with a long neck and long legs, landed in the water.
Yeah.
Huge hawk.
Yeah.
Big. All right. Our guest is Jeff. It's Frederick, right? Frederick.
Yeah.
Frederick. There's too many R's or E's in there.
There's too many E's.
Too many E's.
Frederick. It's just like the city where I work.
Yeah. That's true. So Jeff is the one that designed our awesome new logo.
He is?
He is.
Okay.
Way to pay attention, Robert.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on a nice little surprise for back there for it.
Sweet.
Nice. Yeah. Hopefully I gave you all the files that you need.
Yeah, I will send them to Robert.
I just stole the one off the
thing. Well, I have all the files.
Vectric VCarve does, as long as it's got a defined outline.
As long as it's not a giant artsy picture with 3 reptiles in a pot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was.
James has vector files, so
I do.
Should be really easy to switch it over that way.
I already got it copied. So.
Well, I have them for a future.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. So, and again, I'm not knocking our other logo. I love our other logo, but it was definitely designed by a tattoo artist.
Sure. I mean, it was a great logo.
It's
a very artsy logo, and it will still stay like on some of our merch and shirts just to be able to get it. But I'm going to do some new ones with the new logo.
If I showed you my original logo, you'd be like, "What the fuck were you thinking?"
Is it the one you designed?
Yes.
Because this one you had someone design, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Fiverr for $50 like 3 years ago.
I pointed at the one on your shirt, but that's not the one you had designed.
No.
That's the one that's on my shirt too, that Katie, I think, designed.
Some guy in Mexico City
did the other one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I was just starting this up, and I was like, I've heard of this thing called Fiverr. Let me see what that's about. So I went on there, and it was $50, and he gave me unlimited revisions. And I told him I want this and this and this. He did it, and I was like, no, that looks like a cartoon. I want it to look and he came back with what I have now, and I was like, fuck, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know anything about CAD programs or VCarve or any of that then, and luckily it's one that just works really well with that because it's black and white and everything's defined and everything's connected. So there's no, like, if I cut it out, there's nothing that falls out.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I look at when I look at people's logos. I'm like, fuck, that would be impossible to do.
Let's talk with Jeff about the logos. Jeff, you do graphic design stuff. Obviously, you did our logo. Mm-hmm. The one thing, especially we do a lot of shows, and if you've been to shows, you can always tell, like, usually the newer folks that like got their logo and their banner before they ever bred the first snake, and they're finally selling their one pastel ball python, and their banner's got 5 million things on it, and it's this giant piece of art that just looks horrible. You can't tell what it is from a distance. You just know it's a jumble of stuff. Like, if you ever have to design logos for people, do you have to be like, hey, let's tune it back a little bit?
Yeah, it happens all the time. And I've had people come to me before with an existing logo, plenty of times, where it's just like, all right, let's give you a little education on getting people to read what you want them to read, and hierarchies and things like that. Right. So it always stands out to me.
That's why I'm always like, if you want a banner with like pictures of what you breed, that's fine. Get a simple logo in the middle, and then do like pictures around it of what you breed for the banner.
Yeah.
But that way you still have a logo for like your hats.
But the first thing your eyes should go to is not those pictures.
No.
That logo needs to be the first thing you see. People, they try to make it too complicated. And I remember, it's been 20 years since I took a marketing class in college, but my marketing professor used to always say, simple, simple, simple. That was like his mantra.
Yeah.
Was simple, simple. Don't make your fucking business name like Big Jim's truck stop on 290 and 3, some, crazy, stupid long name, unless it is something that like perfectly is going to stick in their head forever.
Yeah.
But you think about all your successful businesses, Walmart,
Oh yeah, there's
Home Depot, Target. It's simple. Look at Canova now.
Yeah.
He took that from Justin Kabilka Reptiles to something you can actually, most people, we all know Justin Kabilka, but you show Kabilka to the average person,
yeah,
and they're like, what the fuck kind of name is that?
Well, how do you pronounce it is always the first
right.
problem.
But JK, I mean, do what?
You've heard of an elevator pitch before, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with graphic design and marketing and messaging, you don't even get that much. You get a 2-second read. If they don't get it in 2 seconds, they're not gonna spend the time unless you gave them some reason to get it.
I see some of these vendors sometimes, and I'm like, did you come up with that name because you intentionally don't want people to come to your table? Or because you don't want people to remember who you are? Because
I get the thought of some of these names, they just want to be funny. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But if your intention is to just be a hobbyist breeder and be fun, that's fine. All for it. But a lot of these folks are the ones like, this is going to be a business. Well, not like that. It's not going to be a business.
Well, like yours is the Simply Serpents. I've always said that is, it's easy to remember.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's just
the only problem is the fucking Nazis.
SS.
I put SS on stuff, and
they fucked that up.
As a person with Jewish people in my family, I'm like, motherfuckers.
Yeah, they kind of messed that up for you.
But because every now and then I'm like, oh, it looks cool with the SS. I'm like,
they messed the swastika up for a certain group of people in India too. So
that's true.
Yeah, but the Indian one is oriented the other direction.
Yes, that is a fact. But the average person sees it; they don't know that.
That's like one of those Facebook memes where you see like which one is the right logo, and it's like Pepsi, but it's like 3 different ways. You look at the Pepsi logo, and no one knows which one's the right one because we just know it's blue and red.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like in the store when I'm looking at. I find myself doing this when I'm looking at spaghetti sauce. I'm looking for the one that's in the prettiest bottle that like looks Italian.
I look for the ones with great value and
right. And I catch myself doing that, and I'm like, is it really any better? I don't think I'm gonna go with the Prego or Hunt.
Just fucking tomatoes and garlic.
Now we make our own. Rachel's got her grandma's recipe, but it takes like 2 days. But you make a bunch of it and freeze it, and it's awesome. But anyway,
people do it with wine bottles all the time. Like
I
think that's how 90% of people, obviously statistical insignificance, but a ton of people look at wine and that's how they choose their wine. It's just this one has a pretty label.
There's the old don't judge a book by its cover. Everyone judges a book by its cover. That's why you have art on the front of a book.
Yeah.
Like Katie, when we go to the bookstore, 100% judges books by its cover. Like I can look at a book from the cover and go, Katie will look at that one and probably like it.
Yep.
So I mean, but the other thing with logos is you see these folks that get like 3 or 4 logos made, and then they get all these stickers and different. I'm like, one good logo. You just need one good logo.
I'll tell you who does it really well is David Eldon.
Oh yeah, with his
with the different colors.
But he went through what's his name?
Yeah, the one
that Chris does, that sponsors Chris.
I didn't know that, but yeah,
that's who you.
It's probably the only thing we didn't talk about this weekend.
That's the one he went through. What can I think of?
Because he was right next to me this weekend.
Chris, it's always on his show. Yeah. Anyways, but it looks good. It's very colorful. It looks kind of reminds me of like the old Google, the way Google was. But but it's simple.
And then Brandon Milam from Asylum Exotics.
That's a pretty simple one. Yeah, I saw that this weekend.
But it's got a lot of color and it catches your attention. But it's not like overpowering.
Yeah.
And the colors he's a graphic designer too. So it's a lot of pastels and a lot of things that are very inviting colors and very warm colors.
Yeah.
And make you want to go walk up to his table. I remember Bob Vu posting maybe a year ago about how he was wondering if maybe his was too much. Like his whole setup was too much because he was noticing people were looking at his tables and walking off because they almost felt intimidated.
Yeah.
Because it was.
I've seen it at shows, especially big shows like Tinley.
Yeah. It looks
like, this is clearly out of my price range.
Right.
But now he's got that simple balls and Bob's balls. It looks like Pornhub.
Yeah, but he didn't have that up this weekend. This weekend he had the Dragon Ball Z stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I say that. Where I was sitting at, I can only see like one side of his, and I never walked around the end and looked. Huh?
Anyways, I'll ask you about it later. I don't want to sit over there.
No.
Okay.
No, because the person who bought it was not at that show this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to give it to him.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so
to that point, up at Tinley, the first time that I went up there, I went to Ben Rennick's table, and I could take 2 seconds looking at the table and going, I love looking at this stuff, but there is nothing here I'm going to buy, just because my budget and sometimes you can really convey those things with your marketing, with your messaging, and even like you said with your table presentation.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I first started out, I was looking for the vendors with deli cups that just had everything
No
in
doubt.
deli cups because I'm like, that looks like who I can afford to buy from. And little did I know, that I learned obviously very quickly that you pay for quality, not quantity.
Yeah. And let me say that just because someone does not have
100%.
the nicest setup doesn't mean they don't have quality. There are tons of small breeders out there that do, but I do find myself when I pass through a show and if I'm trying to make a first pass through just to see what there is real quick, if it's a plain tablecloth and a bunch of random sized deli cups, I'm probably not stopping there. They're probably not the table for me.
For sure.
Because what I'm buying, I'm not gonna say I'm buying. I am buying quality, and I'm not trying to sound snooty. I'm not buying $3,000 steaks. I'm not buying that kind of quality. But if you've put a little bit of effort into it, tells me that you care about what you're putting on the table, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Don Shores, today's his birthday.
Yeah, Don Shores has an amazing setup.
I love Don's setup.
Don Shores with
I
all
looked
this,
at it all weekend. He was right in front of me.
this king snakes,
Jared
all
was there, and Don was there.
It's quite a difference in setups.
Jared's setup looked awesome this weekend.
Did it?
Yeah, he had like 4 tables with all display case. He's got an iguana, a green iguana, that's like a full-grown male. He's huge. Got all of his spikes still. He's got his chin spikes, and you just open his cage, he just climbs up on you. Huge puppy dog.
The 1 out of 4.
Yeah, Jared's like he rides in the back seat of the truck with my dog. They lay next to each other.
Iguanas to me, it's a simple 1 out of 4 rule. 1 out of 4 of them is fine. The other 3 are fucking assholes.
I've never seen one that size that was. I mean, it was just super. It like sat on his head most of the weekend, walked around.
We had a female at the zoo that was like that, but every male that we had was a dick.
Did you text your kid and ask her to bring you a
100%?
Okay, just making sure. I was like, how did she know?
I texted my wife and she didn't answer, so then I texted my kid.
Gotcha.
At least one of them loves you.
Yeah.
Or is afraid of me. Whichever way, I don't care. Whichever one.
Jeff,
We won't define which one it is.
where do you live, Jeff?
I'm up in Maryland,
Okay.
right outside the DC area, or within the DC area in Maryland.
That's how I used to. My grandmother she just moved to North Carolina, but my grandmother lived up there. My dad's from up in Maryland in that area.
Right
Not Frederick. That's where the baseball team is.
So, today's election day.
Yes.
One of my friends just made the best post. He said, it feels like we're all in divorce court waiting to see who gets custody of us. That's pretty accurate.
I'm just ready for the fucking commercials to stop. That's all I'm ready for. But
It surprises me that you're seeing them. I haven't seen a ton of them. I don't have cable anymore. I cut the cord on cable. So
I'm about to.
I have Dish.
But you guys watch sports.
Yeah. So I wanted to cut the cable a few months ago, but then I'm like, man, but the Astros are only on AT&T Southwest, and I can only get that on my current cable provider. So now that the season's over and they won the World Series, I'm just rubbing that into Dax a little more, and actually more Taylor. Dax actually came up and said, "Congratulations on your team," and Taylor just shot me the finger, I think. But and then we joked around, of course. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do it, and then I guess that Fubo TV you can get them. I learned that when we were hunting a couple weeks ago because that's how we watched it, was on Fubo.
I have every streaming service and DirecTV. I pay a shit ton to watch TV, but I watch a shit ton of TV.
Yep.
I know I do. Like I can't help it. I watch a lot of TV.
I just finished a series that I really
watch a lot of Netflix and Hulu and shit. But
I watch
cable TV.
I have however many 100 channels of cable, and I'm almost always either on Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime Video, and occasionally Disney Plus if I want to watch like some MCU or something.
See, and I watch like 9 football games every Sunday.
Let's be real. I'm watching Frozen 2. No.
I record. I have got
like ESPN package or something like that.
Well, I have the ESPN package,
but
then I also have the NFL Sunday Ticket, which I think you can get separate, but I get a deal because it's bundled into. The problem is my DirecTV is bundled into my AT&T phone, and then my football is bundled into that. So it's just everything's fucking into. I'm like, I can't. Everything's tied together already. And then
I'll tell you, I only save like $20 a month by going with high-speed internet but no cable TV.
Really?
You really don't save that much, depending on
Netflix. Our Netflix is tied into our T-Mobile.
Oh yeah,
so it's part of our T-Mobile. They say it's free, but
we'll see.
It's fucking free.
The great thing is with DirecTV is because it ties in with AT&T. I can watch anything on my DirecTV
Man, we're,
app.
we're really
with
doing
no
some
data.
reptile talk.
I know. All right, let's get back to. I want to get back to logo. So again, issues I see. If you want a big fancy artsy logo, think of maybe that's fine for the back of a shirt or a sticker, but you need a main one for the pocket. So like when I talked about last week, wanting to do where if any of our listeners are artists and they want to do a really cool design and we put on the back of our shirt, the front would be our new logo, a very simple logo. And I think that kind of stuff is fine. But people need to be able to look across and know what you have, or at least know what you're called from across the room. And we know several of them that we've seen at the shows that just it's an okay piece of art, I guess. It's just it's very hard to tell what I'm looking at or find the word. Or script is always a big issue. Like they want this big fancy script that looks great, maybe on a business card, like up small, really small, but blown up huge. It's not so good.
Yeah. Or, you know, we get into some of the graffiti type writing, and even like if you look at metal bands, you know, you've got those just crazy wild logos and things like that. And some people want that, you know, they only want the in crowd to really know what's being sold. But yeah, you really got to work. I think Robert kind of got to this a little bit earlier. You got to work on your name first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have so many people come to me, or have had so many people come to me. I've been closed for commissions for a long time. Where it's just like the name that you got isn't saying anything.
Yeah.
You know, Simply Serpents, you know what you're getting.
And that was the whole goal when I picked it, was I wanted it to be nice and easy. So
yeah. I mean, a Splendii Genetics, for instance.
I was waiting for it.
First of all, we're not selling plants, right? Like, why are we using it?
No, but at the same time, I
know the story behind it, but I would love you to explain.
I mean, yeah, I grew carnivorous plants for a long time, and my handle on all the forums was a Splendii, so that's what everybody knew me as.
But no one can fucking spell it.
Yeah, well, fuck them. Nobody can spell Kabilka or Barchek either. But
that's true.
And Kabilka changed it because they couldn't spell it.
Like, I wish I would.
And no one needs to spell Barchek. It's fine.
I wish I would have just named my business Racks and Cages.
Racks and Cages.
I mean, it's simple, and I've looked. There's nobody that's I shouldn't have said it on here. There's nobody that said it that has that yet.
Gonna go buy that.
Like dubiaroaches.com. That's they were actually at the show this weekend.
Yeah, that way when you Google Dubia roaches,
you get them.
They pop up.
Yep. There's a guy that has isopods.com. He was at the show this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. He literally is.
That's getting into something that, you know, a little bit past that first step of getting your name, you know, quite right. But it's like search engine optimization, right? So once you get into really marketing and things like that, you got to look at what's going to pop up first on Google, what's going to pop up first on Bing, what's going to pop up first on Yahoo search. I don't know what people use other than Google.
DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo. There you go. But yeah, like to Travis's point, you know, with the Splendii Genetics, his big thing with that name is getting across, hey, you know me. Hey, you've known me all these years. Look at where I've been. Go look it up, and you'll see. You know, that's assumingly that's kind of where that came from, whether you knew it or not. With James, it's, you know, you're just conveying exactly what you're getting.
Yep.
You know, Simply Serpents. And with Robert, you know, if I'm looking for a rack supplier or a cage builder or something like that, I definitely want it to be in the same state that I'm in.
Yeah, that's true. I do get that a lot. I got that.
State it is.
Yeah, I got that a lot this weekend at the show because I've never vended the DFW complex. I had a lot of new people coming up to me, and they're like, "Oh man, you're in Texas. That's awesome. Where?" And I'm like, "In Houston." "Oh, that's not that far," because, you know, in Texas, 5 hours is not that far.
Just know you're gonna have.
Yeah, I mean, that's just that's an afternoon
you
trip.
You can drive all day in Texas and still be in Texas.
100%. You can get from Beaumont to Chicago faster than you can get from Beaumont to El Paso. So that is a fact, and I took that into consideration whenever I decided to settle on this name, because I knew that I wouldn't do many shows outside of Texas or Louisiana where people know Lone Star. Because if I go to New York State and do Lone Star Reptile, people are going to look at me like I got 3 heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might not even want to buy from you.
Exactly. And that you know, I don't plan on vending up there ever.
Fuck New York. I said it for you.
Yeah, you know, whatever. It's good pizza up there.
City.
Yeah, city.
Up
City,
New
yeah,
York
city,
Yeah.
city. That's
You get
true.
up
Got
in
some
a,
good friends in New York State.
yeah, there's some great people in northern New York and central New York. But anyway, I'm rambling now. Keep going, Jeff. You're doing great.
Oh, no, it's all good. So I guess to the point that I was kind of making is sometimes you get that success that's in the name that you didn't know that you had, or maybe you did know that you had. A lot of times if you're going through a marketing team or, some sort of brainstorming session or anything like that, you're looking for something that works, but sometimes you just come up with it. And it's your own stroke of genius, whether you realize it or not. It's like Bob Ross calls happy little accidents.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we talked about the change to Canova, and again, it's his business. He's allowed to do whatever he wants to. I'm from the old school part. I like the name to somewhat tell me what it is, and the name Canova doesn't. But JKR Reptiles kind of did. But
I think he still calls it Canova Reptile.
He does. But a lot of times you see people say just Canova now, and sometimes the problem I have, and he kind of ran into that originally was initials. So many people use initials that a lot of times your brain scrambles the letters, especially for someone that may be dyslexic, which I'm not, but there are tons. You want to try to remember that breeder, but that breeder had 3 initials, and you're like, fuck, what order did they go in? And so I think there's just so much of that too. Maybe we move away from everyone using their initials for their business name.
I remember a discussion. I think it was before I jumped ship on Facebook, but it was on the carpet python discussion board. I think way back when they were talking about people using the initials in their name for the business, but there's only so many 2-letter combinations. There's only so many 3-letter combinations. One, you're either going to run into somebody else who has it, or you're going to get confused for somebody else. And I don't personally have a problem with using your name for the business. My buddy Howard, Redding Reptile Breeders, people know who they're getting, and you're not going to get away from it. In his words, if you do something wrong, people are still going to know you.
Yeah.
So it kind of holds you a little more accountable as well.
Well, there's several that use, Ben Rennick used his name. Tim Bailey, Tim uses his name. Don Shore. Well, Don Shore's is Shore's enough, but it's still his name.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of Bob's Balls. I mean, it's Bob's Balls is one of those that's funny, but works.
But it works.
You know what you're getting.
One, it's simple. It sticks in your head. Unlike, I don't want to say any of the specific ones that I see at some of the shows.
Well, but no one use the name. We had the Reddies on. The Reddies are Reddies Rainforest.
Yes,
and it works. They're the Reddies, and it's alliteration, so it works there. So
I should think of a palindrome because those stick in your head really well. But I don't know anything that would apply to mine.
Fast race car. What is it? Race car. I forget.
Race
There's a whole
palindrome. Madam, I am Adam.
Yeah, I knew
just the whole Weird Al song about it.
Yeah, that's right. That's why you know, right?
Yeah. So, but
I mean, alliteration is always good. Rhyming is always good. It's just when it's catchy like that, it's going to stick with people. It's that 2-second read. Like I said, you got to snap it in.
When I went to Dale Carnegie training a couple years ago, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Dale Carnegie, the How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's also, he wrote the book in the early 1900s, and it's still a bestseller today. If they did another reprint, it would be a bestseller again. But there's a whole organization now that's the Dale Carnegie Institute, and you go for 8 weeks, like 2 days a week, and it's teaching you how to speak to people and but part of what they do is teach memorization, like how to remember a name forever. And obviously I've lost some of that, but one of those is rhyming,
repeating it and things like that, rhyming with something. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I met George W. Bush in 2000 when he was running for president the first time in San Diego when I was in college. At the museum I worked at the Aerospace Museum, and I'd been fishing that morning. I went to get my paycheck, and they said, "Hey, the president wants to see you in his office." And I'm like the president of the museum. And I'm like, I'm just a college student that works in the restoration department, but okay. So I go up there, and he's like, "Hey, I had another Texan here that wants to meet you." And it's George W. Bush. He had come out for a fundraising event they were doing at the museum. So we spoke for a little while, and then I got the opportunity to see him again about 12 years later, and he remembered my name. He uses the Dale Carnegie techniques. They say that guy can meet you and not see you for 20 years and remember your name.
I really like him now that he's not president.
Yeah, he reminds me of like an old pothead.
I've never seen someone who had a job that so much that they didn't want,
Yeah.
but knew they had to do it.
Yeah. Because their name.
And then when it was over, it was like, nah, I'm just gonna go be me now.
I'm gonna go paint.
I'm gonna go hang out on a ranch and paint, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go hang out with the Obamas, who I'm supposed to hate. Like,
Right. But
gonna party with them.
right.
He's so much more fun now.
Yes. Now that he's not on TV saying nuclear.
God, people say that all the time. Like, stop it.
Nuclear.
Yep.
Oh God.
Sending us to countries we don't belong in.
that too.
Yes.
So yeah, people need to put more thought into what they're doing when it comes to that. Again, there's different paths for everybody. If you're planning on doing it straight as a business, and you need to, there's definitely a way you need to go, and cutesy is not the way. Like, you need to look professional.
Look, it can be. It all comes down to what you want to represent and who your clientele and your audience is. You really need to put some thought into who your audience is going to be, because cutesy might absolutely be your thing. If that's what you do and that's what you stick to, if you have the market for it, hell yeah. But that also comes back to maybe do a little market research and see if the market is there for that. Because if you're going into a Hell's Angel meeting expecting to sell cutesy pins, good fucking luck.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like I can think of other, I don't know if they're necessarily graphic designer people in the hobby, but like Emily Burke. Like her style and everything is very cutesy, but that goes with the nature of her drawings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I don't know that I would say Adeline's that way, but there are another couple that are like that, where like the stuff that they draw and the pins and things that they sell are very.
But they're selling art, and I don't think your logo always needs to be art. Like, it can be, but it doesn't need to be like super detailed, fancy art.
One that the cutesy really works for is Snake Discovery.
Well, I was gonna say, Snake Discovery,
like for Emily
it's
and
cute,
Ed,
but it is a very simple logo.
It's a very simple,
and it's one color.
Mm-hmm.
You know that green, like you see that green on stuff.
Yep.
And I think that's another thing is people get really excited about colorful stuff and like, oh, I want lots of color, and then they throw lots of color. But like, you can do color, but do bright of one or two colors.
Yeah. But Emily's also aiming. Go ahead, Robert. You're good. No, you're good.
When I first started working in graphic design, this is so long ago that we had to worry about how it was going to come across on a fax machine. So
it's been a minute since you started.
Right. If you imagine how some of these logos would come across on a fax machine, it's not gonna.
It'd be a big black smudge.
Right. It's not something we have to worry about anymore. But with some of the screen printing techniques and things like that, like when you guys were talking about getting your logo done on the t-shirts, I'm looking at it going, that's at least 6 to 8 colors. That's going to be expensive to do a screen print. Now you can do like direct to garment printing and stuff like that, where they'll just print it directly on
and that's
the
how we do ours now, because it's so much easier to do it that way. But for someone that wanted to keep stuff on hand, the color count is, especially if anybody that's ever tried to do like embroidery, like get a hat done.
Oh my God.
That is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see I know you guys don't live in Houston, so you have no idea who Mattress Mac is. We have a guy here in Houston 40 years ago, started a furniture store. I don't know.
Most of America knows him now after the Astros game. They don't watch the Astros. So,
but anyway, he started this business. He's a multimillionaire now. He's basically like the de facto mayor of Houston. And at a Phillies game, at the Philly game 4,
he's like Gandhi of furniture. Yeah,
at game 4, somebody was giving him a hard time, like big time, and Mac finally lost his cool and told the guy to go fuck himself. And Mac's 77 years old, and he's about 6 foot tall, and about 100 pounds.
When you see him, you think he's about to die.
He makes Travis look like me. Like, he's tiny. Like, he's just super thin. So, he looked like, you're like, did he already die? And they just pumped him with something to make him walk.
I went to their main store one day, and he's big. He's name wise, he's huge. So I'm like, he's not gonna be there. I walk in, he's sitting behind the front counter.
He's there all day, every day.
But he looks like he's about to die.
But so people in Houston started making memes. Actually, it was a sheriff's deputy that made the one with him. And he's like in the Astro shirt with big gold chains and a freaking cholo bandana on and with gold teeth. And it's like, don't fuck with Mac. And that Baytown Hat Company started making hats immediately with that. Like, they went to the guy who made it and were like, we got his permission to make the hats. And he talked about, the guy from Baytown Hat Company was like, God, if it wasn't for sublimation, this would have taken me a week to make these hats. And he turned them all out in a night. He turned like 1,000 of them out in a night But he mentioned that in an interview I did, that if it wasn't for sublimation, there's no friggin' way he could have done that in the time he did it. Because it would either had to have been embroidered, and it's like probably 5 or 6 colors, or it would have had to have been
because like shades of stuff are a pain when it comes to embroidery.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. It's just you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
If I can talk about the different ways that you actually get that stuff on shirts and hats and things like that, because Robert, you brought up sublimation, and I think a lot of people listening aren't really going to know what that is.
Yeah.
And I know we as reptile enthusiasts run into that on podcasts all the time.
Sure.
Sublimation is you're floating an image on top of water. Basically, you've seen people do it with like hydro dipping. It's sort of called the same thing, right? Hydro dipping and sublimation. So you're floating an image, like your printer prints it onto water, and then you're just pushing it through, essentially, in a lot of cases. There's different types of dye sublimation, but that's pretty much it. And direct to garment would be printing it directly on there. So it's similar process to sublimation. And then you got like old school screen printing, which if you're doing a ton of t-shirts or hats or mugs or anything like that, it's most likely going to be screen printed, because as the quantities go up, the price goes down. Anybody that knows wholesale knows that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So those are going to be your most common techniques for that sort of thing.
And some people may be more familiar with sublimation now because of things like Cricut and Silhouette machines, because they can now do, if you get the right printer, you can now do sublimation through that and put them on shirts. But the problem with sublimation, with the way it is, there are certain ones, but it's very expensive. With most sublimation, it has to be done on a light colored t-shirt, which for the reptile community is a no-no. Apparently, no one likes light colored t-shirts in the reptile community. So sublimation becomes a very hard thing to do unless you do the whole like bleaching the area and then putting it on top of that.
We in the other industry that I used to work in trade show exhibits, do major trade show exhibits, where companies like Coca-Cola come in and pay us $20 million to build them these huge exhibits that would travel all over the country. And we had
like
a print
type shop.
Yeah, we had it was I think our shop was 30,000 square feet. But we had a printer.
Travis, what are you doing?
Be all right.
My God, Travis.
My light box backgrounds just fell over. So
we had a printer that was a latex UV printer that could do up to 15 feet wide, and as long as the roll of it was basically like wallpaper.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be 500 feet long, and it would just print it. And we would do one of the guys there was doing cornhole boards, and he could print that directly on the plywood.
That's cool.
And I looked into a similar printer recently, just a smaller one that I could do like cornhole boards and things like that. And they're like $5,000, but it prints it with latex, and then it goes through a UV light, and it's cured like that. But yeah, that machine was awesome to watch it work because it was fast.
$5,000, but I mean, that thing back when you were using it was probably hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, that machine that we used at that shop was almost $1 million machine. Yeah. Because it was gigantic. The one I'm looking at small, like tabletop size. Okay. But yeah, no, that one was nearly $1 million machine. Even
the price of that kind of stuff has really come down. Like, it's amazing what we can do at home now. Like, you've got the CNC at your shop. Granted, people are running those at home.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how long it's going to be until you're going to be able to print on garments and things like that from your house. Yeah. It's probably not long.
It'll be very interesting one day when we basically become like the Jetsons. If you want something, you'll have a machine that will print whatever you want. Yeah. Like a 3D printer that will print in whatever material it needs to be. And
they have 3D printers that do food now.
Yeah.
Houses.
The problem with the houses, every time I see a house one, there's no structural part. Like you'll watch the house one and it'll always be like concrete, but there's never like rebar or anything like that.
They put steel in them.
Do they? Because I never see it in the videos. I'm like,
they have to do it after the fact because while it prints, it would get in the way of the printing on it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's why you can only print so many layers. Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, you'd have too much mass pushing down on the wet concrete.
Yeah.
And that also so they can put the rebar in because it ties into the next one below it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Unlike my driveway, which has no rebar in it. I found out recently, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, somebody had to have been paying off the inspectors the shit that I found in this house since we moved in 5 years ago. But yeah, we had a big sinkhole that came up in our driveway. Remember that big hole?
Oh, yeah.
And I had him fix it. And that guy that came out, he's like, yeah, it's like the 10th one I've fixed in this neighborhood. There's not a piece of steel in this whole driveway except what I just put in it. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. That's what you get when you buy in a neighborhood. You live in
Anyways.
the neighborhood.
So we'll get to our questions this week. I want to play a game. I told Jeff about this ahead of time, but it's a game I played. I think it was episode 7.
That's a long time ago.
It was a very long time ago, 133 episodes ago, with Owen McIntyre, and it was and people can help me come up with a name for this segment. We're gonna do it every week, but it's basically, is it a morph or not? This weekend I sat around with a bunch of ball python people and realized how fucking stupid ball python. I mean, I've always known it, but it just refreshed me on how stupid ball python names are.
Yes.
And then I went through Morph Market, and I made a list of stupid ass names of morphs on Morph Market. So now
I remember this. I remember listening to this.
So this may or may not be a well-known morph. It may be one person, but
it was actually when I was working at that place I was just talking about, and I was listening to it on my headphones inside.
But some of these are morphs from Morph Market, and then some of them are names I made up. And so Travis, I'm gonna have you and Jeff are gonna play. I'm gonna give you, Travis, I'm gonna give you 6. I think I've got enough. I'm gonna give Jeff 6, and we'll see how well y'all can do. All right. So
I don't know if I want to do better or worse on this.
I know there's not a winner here except for whoever's listening. All right, Travis, you're first. All right. So I'm gonna give you a name. You tell me. These are ball pythons, right? So in the future we could do leopard geckos, crested geckos, because they've all got stupid ass names. But these are ball pythons. Let's go with Sunrise, Travis. Sunrise. Is it a ball python morph or not?
No.
You're right. It is not. It is not. There's Sunset. Trout.
Surprised there's not a Sunrise.
Yep.
I mixed a tequila with an orange juice, and I have a Sunrise.
All right. Casper.
Is it just Casper? Because I remember, I think it was Josh Markey years ago on Bush League decided that he got tired of people saying that you can't name things whatever you want, and he named one of his combos the Casper Moo Pants.
No,
It's got to be on Morph Market.
It's on Morph Market, and it's just Casper.
No, I don't think so.
It is not. It is not. Mario.
Yes.
It is.
Yep.
It is a fucking more. I saw that. And I'm like, that's fucking stupid.
Yep, I saw that.
You got
That's
that.
because it's got a super form. So
So there is a Super Mario.
That's
Fuck.
kind of cool.
No, it's not. It's still
Funny, catchy. Nintendo will probably sue the fuck out of you for it.
Redhead.
yes.
It is a fucking. That's what I like. Let's go with Disco.
Yes.
Fuck it. It is. That is one.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go with Cobalt.
No.
It is not. Fuck. Travis got all of them.
I just found one that I'm like, what the fuck?
Which one is it? Hold on.
Yeah, I don't want to say it.
All
'Cause it might be one of the
All
ones.
right,
you saw
Travis.
too.
I don't know if you won or not. You got all 6 right. I don't know if I'd be proud of it, but it is true. All right, Jeff.
And I gave a history.
That is true. That is true.
So if we tie just ahead of time, if we tie, do we skip to a different category?
Oh, we
of
can.
reptiles?
We can. I can find. It won't take me long.
Probably not going to happen, but let's go.
All right, Jeff. First one, and this is in honor of this weekend. Astro.
No.
It is a ball python morph.
I was surprised too. I'm looking as he's saying them. I'm scrolling up and looking.
It is a ball python morph.
There's 3 of them.
Shit, I don't pay attention to.
Kneecaps.
I'm going to go no on that one.
It is not. It is a crested gecko morph.
Is it really?
Oh,
It is.
Does it have like one odd color kneecap?
I have fucking no clue, but it was on the list. I wrote it down. Blazer.
I'm going to say yes.
It is not. That is not one. I made that up. It's a gladiator from American
and
Gladiators.
laser and
Is Blaze one?
yes.
Or is that like Inferno I'm thinking of?
Blaze.
There wasn't a Blaze that popped up because there wasn't anything close to Blazer when I looked at it.
The fuck? I'm seeing shit on here. That's...
Blaze
Oh,
would
yeah,
probably
that's-
be the closest.
Yeah, Blade.
Hydra.
I'm going to say yes.
It is. That is a ball python morph. It is a ball python morph. Oil spot.
I'm going to say no as a morph, but it might be a combo name.
It is a crested gecko morph.
No, so that makes
Oh,
sense
wow.
to me, but doesn't because it's still
Yeah,
dumb.
I get oil spot looking things.
Let's go with Sahara.
Yes.
That is a ball python. So it looks like you went, what was that? 3 for 3? 3 and 3, I think.
3. Yeah.
Jesus, there's a morph called Bang.
Yeah.
Just Bang.
Bang.
I'm gonna
Yes.
actually be a little proud of my score there, just to know that I'm not that involved with the
There's one
morph
called
game.
Furrow.
Oh yeah, then there were a ton that I went
Gaia,
past.
Gaia.
Yeah.
What?
It's gonna be a fun game because I
Gaia.
keep going.
Yeah.
Earth, right?
Yes, but that's spelled G.
No, it's spelled Gaia.
Is it Gaia? Okay.
Mota.
Gaia, isn't that the mother of the gods?
I mean, it depends on which mythology.
Wasn't that
you're
Zeus's
looking at.
mom?
There's one called Soul.
She was a Titan, right? I think that was Zeus's mom.
Max
Gaia.
Six probably named that one.
Probably.
Anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna. That's something we're gonna do because
Good job, Travis. You win nothing.
Travis, you win. Fucking knowing
Where the
stupid ass names.
everything's made up and the points don't
The
really
points
count.
don't matter. Oh shit.
I used to love that
1
show,
million
man.
points to me.
Yeah, there you go. You can
It's like
cash
the
those.
NPR intern points.
You can cash those in at the Morelia Python radio store. Just tell them that you got 1 million points from our podcast. Still, I promise it's good there. Our points are good there. So we asked we did not get an answer to one of the questions, which is why I asked both of Jeff's questions. I was surprised that no one answered one of them.
Oh yeah.
One of the questions, one of them was it's election day, and were any of your votes influenced by reptile keeping and legislation? And not a single person answered that.
I didn't even see that. And I
Really?
normally see, I see it when you post it because I get an alert.
Yeah.
That's weird. I was pretty busy today though.
So I posted that one yesterday. No one answered it. But were any of y'all's votes swayed by reptile legislation? No.
I want to say yes, but no. The one that I can think of, I remember not getting any sort of response back about some of the recent legislation changes from our senators. Not even being able to get them on the phone, and I'm like, fuck. But at the same time, I'm looking at our Congress going, yeah, we kind of need that person right now. So it's a little tough to vote against him.
It's gonna be interesting. I don't know. I think Georgia's passing more laws, which is all fucking Georgia needs. They already have a trillion animal laws in place, but they were passing more. Because those tegus, they're horribly dangerous, and those Burmese pythons, they're gonna live in Georgia because it's.
Tegus could legitimately live in Georgia.
I don't think they're gonna
brumate.
spread. I don't think they're gonna reproduce there.
There's some areas where they could. I would bet that around the Savannah area, up in the swamps, I could see
Maybe.
him brumating and.
Once you
establishing
start
going
getting
there.
on the other
It
side
gets
of the
really
equator,
cold.
I
It gets-
understand, but they also come from places where it gets really damn
I was gonna
cold.
say.
They
It gets really cold in Argentina sometimes too.
they get up into
Yeah.
elevation in Argentina,
We
and
can at
they
least agree
burrow
that
down. They burrow 1-2 meters down. That's pretty deep to find yourself a good hidey hole and keep yourself from freezing to death.
we can at least agree Burmese pythons aren't going to do it.
No, I don't think Burmese pythons are going to be a problem.
Did you see they just found one at Kennedy Space Center?
Really? That's because we haven't had a winter.
That's way north in Florida.
Yeah, but that's because we haven't had winter yet.
True.
Yeah,
'Cause-
but that's also if you look at the proper potential range map for them, that would fall in an area that is tolerable for them because of the climate.
Makes sense.
Well, because they lost, I don't know, it's probably 10 years now, but there was a super freeze that went through the Everglades probably about 10 years ago, and all the big ones died at that point because they couldn't get out of the cold. And they found tons of dead big ones.
Well, they just had a pretty decent freeze a couple
Yeah.
of years ago because they were
Did they?
warning people about, watch out for
Oh,
the iguanas falling out of the
I
trees.
remember. I remember the raining iguanas. I do remember that now.
And also don't pick up the iguanas thinking they're dead and put them in your car because then they'll wake up and you won't be happy to have 5 angry iguanas in your car with you.
So Darren Watson says there's a population of wild tegus in Georgia. How about that? Go
I'm
catch
not
one.
surprised.
I
I'd be worried about monitor lizards too, because some of them with their burrows, some of them they're talking about go 50 feet underground. It's crazy. Maybe they're talking about how far latitudinally it goes underground.
look at you sounding like Travis with big
I
words.
guess it depends on where they're looking at them. But yeah, there was that paper out 2 years ago they found a burrow in Australia. The species.
I think that's what I'm referring to.
They're the one that spirals.
Yeah, they corkscrew down, and it was something like 23 feet underground.
It was wild.
Yeah. So like that. Now they don't do that for protection from the winter per se, but if something like that got loose in Arizona or Utah,
Yeah.
and it decided to burrow down 23 feet, that's going to protect it from the cold out there, even though it's doing it to protect itself from the ungodly heat that you get out there.
Well, I get upset because we had that issue with the python supposedly loose, and did anyone ever find that carpet python in Houston? Anyways, of course they brought all the nut.
No,
jobs.
I was shaking my head. No.
Yeah.
It
brought all the nut jobs out that thought that the pythons were going to take over Texas, and because everybody's releasing their pets, and that's how that happened in the Everglades. And I'm like, if everybody released their pet pythons in the Everglades, you'd see way more lavenders and albino and tiger, and you'd see all the pet shit.
Mm-hmm.
Not what was really popular in 1991.
Legitimately found a morph, and when I say legitimately, I'm putting giant air quotes around that. Was God, what was that idiot's name? Undiscovered Billy the Exterminator or something?
Oh yeah.
He legitimately caught an albino.
That's like when you see people at Halloween, like, check your kids' candy to make sure it's not edibles. Ain't nobody fucking giving away edibles.
No one's giving away drugs.
Just like nobody's letting go their morph.
That shit ain't cheap.
Yeah. Right.
That costs more. That's more than like the king size candy bars. Come on.
Right.
I love the memes that went around this year. Was I looked in my candy and I found, and it would just be like the most random shit that
existential dread.
Yeah, like Mordor.
The Bosch painting.
It'd just be like a picture of Mordor, and I found Mordor in this candy bar. I'm like, those are fucking. You're more likely to find that. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as like the burrowing and stuff like that goes, you're not going to find a Burmese python doing that. Obviously.
No.
Well, they had that study where they had them at the Savannah River Research Station there in Georgia, and they gave them heated hides, and the stupid snakes sat outside in the freezing cold because that's what their evolutionary imperative is. It's to go sit in the sun. They don't care about the fact that it's 22 degrees outside. There's sun out there.
I had a dwarf.
It doesn't matter that there is a nice heated hide that is 85 degrees and will keep them from dying. And I think they had 9 animals and only 1 survived. And that was because after 6 of them died, they brought 3 of them inside. 2 of those 3 got terrible infections and could not be brought back around. And the last one also had a horrible respiratory infection, but they were able to recover it.
Early on when I was working at the zoo, we had a dwarf came in. I was in an exhibit with some alligators, small alligators, and a little small American croc, but we had jacuzzi heaters on their pool, so their pool would stay warm.
Mm-hmm.
They just never went and fucking got in the pool and froze to death. All the alligators, crocodile, hanging out in the warm pool. I walk in there, he's in the back of the exhibit on land.
What was it?
Frozen death. Dwarf caiman.
Oh.
I'm like,
it's the same thing. The caimans, they don't think about the water being where they have to go to be warm. They think I have to go and bask. American alligators and American crocodiles have evolved to know if it's going to freeze, I just stay in the water and let the water freeze on top of me and keep my nose up, and I will be safer in the frozen water than I would be sitting out on the land.
Yeah. I saw someone, there was a video of an American crocodile on one of the groups I'm in. It was swimming underneath the dock. Somebody filmed it. And one guy's like, yeah, alligators are more vicious than crocodiles. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, no.
I've worked with both, and trust me, that ain't true.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, in the wild, they're calmer. I'm like, no, I'm still going to go with alligators or giant vaginas. I've worked with them, and don't get me wrong, a big alligator will definitely kill somebody.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it definitely wants to go
a lot
away.
less people than like Nile crocs do.
Well, it's like more people have been killed by alligators. Like, well, there's more alligators than American crocodiles. So that number doesn't.
The reason more people have been killed by alligators is because there's about 100 times more alligators.
Yeah.
Like the crocodiles are in the Everglades.
Yeah.
Down in, like, there's a handful that come out, but they were endangered for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, your numbers are a little
scary.
But speaking of winter, our other question, since winter's around the corner, what, if anything, will you do with your collection to prepare? And so we had several. Our buddy Jason Miloradovich He's over in Colorado. Said dropping temps and durations on some. One section will get cool air pumped in from the outside to get down to 50 or 60. I don't know what cool air is. We don't have that. And others will go into the refrigerator because he's talking about brewmating stuff for the winter. Not everybody's gonna be. Some people are on the other opposite end of. I've got to try to keep my house warm enough so that things don't die in the winter. Because not everybody. But he's talking about getting things like I'm about to put my rubber bows in the fridge for the 3rd year, and they'll form ice on the outside the box, and they'll still love it and move around even though it's 40 degrees in there.
And you'll freak out for 3 or 4
I'm
months.
done. I'm done freaking out.
Done?
I've never had a snake that I give less care to than my rubber boas.
Didn't you tell me somebody had some that didn't make it through brumation last year?
Oh yeah, it was Travis.
Oh, it was Travis.
It was Travis.
Oh shit. Sorry, Travis.
Okay. I mean, it happens sometimes.
It happens.
But I never once put them back in. Like they originally were in a rack.
I haven't spoken to Travis since he fostered my wife's obsession with Doomeril boas.
Oh, that's true.
You know, we have 8 now, Travis.
Hey, that's not my fault.
I'm okay with it because I actually really like the Doomeril's boas. But yeah, she didn't even really know what they were until you shipped the one for James. And we had it for what, like a month?
Yeah.
And just every day I'd find her and they're just staring at it. And she's like,
They're cool.
I really like these. They are. They're awesome.
No, I mean, she's a great animal. I just, as much as I liked her, she wasn't really for me. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, she's not small and live in the dirt or have fucked up teeth that want to kill you.
hey, I have other things.
And ball pythons.
Yeah.
I have it all. I have 2 Alterna. I have a black milk. I have chondro. I have 3 bredli. I have 5 bibroni. I have
Stop using words people don't know.
3 ramphiophis.
You used to have a blackhead.
I used to have a blackhead.
Damn, Jeff, way to just rub
Yeah.
that one in. Fuck.
No, he's right. I
You're
used to
talking
have a
about
blackhead.
snakes,
She
you know?
ended up with some weird paralysis thing that killed her. So
Listen, we've all killed a lot of snakes.
yeah,
I've killed a lot of snakes.
Yeah.
And
No, yeah, I
without
do
even-
have a lot of
Yeah,
dirt
fair share,
snakes.
yeah.
I have 4.4 caliber, and
I have one male that's sitting over there, and he didn't eat last time.
they do that.
Yeah, it's a weird fucking snake. I've never owned one, and then I got this one.
It's an African rubber boa. What do you mean it's a weird fucking snake?
It is, but like the rubber boas have more of a defined head.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, less defined scales.
Yes.
Yeah, the calibar though, like every now and then I do have to try and figure out which one of this is the head.
Does
Because
yours not have the
nature's
calico
best
tail?
kinda, but not a ton. But like that head looks so much like a tail. It's insane. I mean, I know it's supposed to. It's kind of the point, but it's just crazy. But yeah, so Miloradovich is getting ready for winter by just freezing his animals, which is again us that have to brewmate stuff like the damn rubbers. Like I said, going back to rubber boas, I don't even put them back in the rack anymore. After they come out of the fridge, they go back in the shoebox. They're in the shoebox. They're in the fridge. They come out of the fridge in that shoebox, and they just go on a table in the closet. And I just make sure they have water.
Yeah.
And I feed them every now and then. And that's it. I don't do shit I don't worry about heat. They have no heat. It's whatever the temperature is in that room. I'm not worried about them getting too cold. I'm more worried about them getting too hot
Yeah.
than anything else.
Yeah. Because like if we have a hurricane and the power goes out, then
And if it got really so fucking hot, yeah.
yeah, that'd be a worry. But if
That's
I'm
an
here,
instance.
if I'm in my house, it's not going to be too hot in some room.
Yeah.
So that's just where they would go. Because I would like to get some rubber boas once you start producing babies.
Super easy to keep.
Yeah, I definitely they're such a
But it's just I said to you, I feel I have to brewmate them though. Like I'm not a person that brewmates. I was talking to somebody this weekend about because I haven't gotten the ball pythons to breed because all I did was I fucking threw the male and the female. I was like, fuck, and they didn't fuck, and I was like, ah, shit, this isn't working. They're like, well, like if you brewmate everything, like you do with boas or rainbow boas. I'm like, dude, I've bred lots of shit. I've never cooled anything off. I've taken the male, put it with the female, and he fucks the female because that's what they do.
mhm.
So like snakes that involve having to lower temperatures, I don't do that. And the only reason I do it with the damn rubbers is because they stop eating. They refuse. They will stop for like 5 months. And she's like, no, I'm just not going to eat. I'm like, well, if you're not going to eat, I'm not going to leave you at normal temperature to lose weight.
There's plenty of snakes like that do that, especially colubrids and colubroids. Like they'll just
Mhm.
stop eating. And sometimes what you got to do is you either got to give them an actual brumation or a fake brumation. I remember
Yeah.
my mom's hognose snake. We had to put it in a pencil box and put it in the dark for a month,
Yeah.
essentially, just because it decided it just wasn't going to eat.
Our friend
Yeah.
Russell that breeds corn snakes, he's got, I don't know, 2,500 adult females. And he sectioned his snake building off into 3 sections so he can create false winners so that he constantly can rotate the sections that are in brumation so that he produces babies all year long. And it's pretty ingenious. But his brother also owns a spray foam business. So they were able to really, really insulate that place. And so he'll have a section of it. You'll walk through and you're like, oh man, it's cold in here. And yeah, pretty smart. But that's also what he does for a living.
With corn snakes, if you want to make any money selling corn snakes, you better be able to have them when somebody else doesn't.
Yeah. Right.
Especially some of the base morphs and things like that.
Yep.
There's going to be a lull in the season, and we all know it. Right before colubrid season, right before python season, et cetera, et cetera. There's going to be a lull about 6 months after that. Nobody's going to have anything. You're looking for like a plain oaky corn snake, and now you got 10 choices instead of 10,000.
Yeah. Well, and don't get me wrong, I know that with the ball pythons, if I'd actually pay attention to what season and maybe drop the temperature a little bit, they'd probably. I'm not in a rush or really care if they breed. It would just be kind of cool to say I did it once. I say cool. It would be cool. I just want to be able to say I did it once. There's nothing cool about breeding ball pythons. I want to make sure everybody knows that. But like with the boas, I seriously just put them out. Like right now, both males with females, and they are just going to town.
Yeah.
And so just let them do it until it happens. But I think, like I said, I have one female that I'm pretty sure she's pregnant. She's laying on the heat. She shed. She stayed on the heat. I was like, okay, she's probably pregnant. But the other 2 females, I'm like, all right, I hadn't taken yet. And so they just keep going. Or with like the Sambos, I just take the male and I'll just run them through all the tubs and he'll make babies. So I don't know what it's like to have to actually deal with the season. But I know like a lot of people that do colubrids, they do the whole cool down and everything. And a lot of that is scientifically, there's a reason. It does get the sperm producing properly in certain males, and it does help with fertilization or with the eggs and everything and all that, and the females and all that. So there is a purpose behind it. But some snakes, especially your snakes that live around the equator, that's not a thing. Like there's not a cold season, a cold snap for them to drop down into.
Yeah, but there are still seasonal cues. Like
there
you'll
are
have monsoon seasons,
pressure changes and stuff like that.
High and low humidity, or just high and low moisture content, which can also lead to boom and bust cycles of prey items. So, if you have a dry season and things aren't breeding then because food supplies are low then while it's not a true brumation, you still get that cessation of food, cessation of activity that causes them to sort of cycle down. And then when you get the return of the warm, wet season and everything starts breeding, then you've got a massive boom of food. And that's when you want to be having your babies hatch out, because that's when they're going to be most likely to be able to get a bunch of prey into them before they themselves are exposed to that next dry cycle and famine period.
Well, I've like, if I know storm's coming through, I'll go in and I'll spray heavily. If I have a pair together of boas, I'll spray them down heavily. So pressure drop, and it's moist and wet and rainy in their cage. And you'll see a lot of times that will get them moving and going.
Yeah, but like Travis talked about, even in the hottest environments where you're talking about estivation versus brumation, is you've got the boom of the prey species, whether that's right after the rainy season or right after the warm up. You've got the boom of the prey species that these individual snakes are going after. So I think if you can target that, a lot of times you can get that breeding activity.
Well, like some of the really cool ones, like some of those dwarf boa species that only eat during bird migrations, and that's their season is when birds are coming through.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, those of us that are keeping carpet pythons, especially things like brettles, Travis, how often do you feed your brettles, your adults?
I feed every other week, but I also feed light. I mean, my male gets like a mouse. Or
I'd say that
maybe a small rat, maybe, but even then, I don't push them hard. Yeah. I'm sure that I could probably give that female from you a large rat, but if I did that, I wouldn't feed her for like a month or 6 weeks, because it would just take her that long to, get it through her system.
Yeah. I mean, my large male, I could give him probably 6 meals a year, as
Yeah.
long as it's the right size meal, and he'd be just as healthy as he is now when he's getting about probably 12 to 14. Some months there's nothing, and some months there's two, every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a baby. Well, I can't call her a baby. She's a 3-year-old Brettle that wouldn't know it to look at her because she, until recently, she would eat maybe once every 3 months. She'd eat a hopper mouse.
Yeah.
And she was just fine the rest of the time. She wasn't losing weight. She didn't look sickly. She just decided, I'm going to eat one hopper mouse and then I'm going to sit here for 3 months and ignore food.
I feed my Brettles whenever I remember to feed my Brettles.
Exactly.
But then I'll like feed her like, here's like 3 or 4 mice or 3 or 4 like small rats. Like, enjoy that. You'll eat again later.
I was in a Repticulture earlier dropping off something. And this girl comes in and she's like, I need a mouse. And Brittany's like, okay. What size? Like the fuzzy one. All right. So I just asked, what are you feeding? A ball python. Brittany goes, oh no, you don't need a mouse. I don't know what made me think about that when you talked about your Brettles, but yeah. I'm like, how do you have a snake and not know what it eats? And the girl's like, it's just not big enough to eat rats. It's like it was born.
That's true.
That's what they tell them on PetSmart.
Yeah. It was born. It's big enough to eat a rat, I promise. Oh, there they go. There they go right there.
Yeah. Just because that's what they told them on PetSmart is like, you can just feed them hopper mice every week. But they never told them increase that prey size
right
as the snake gets older. They just told them hopper mouse every week. So I had a friend with a 2-year-old ball python that looked like it was maybe 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's people always forget when I sell them Sambos and like, what does it eat? Baby mouse. That's too big. No, it ate that like a week before I brought it to the show to sell it to you. I promise you.
Yep.
They eat baby mice.
If you saw my Slowinski's corn snakes, the little bitty ones, after they eat, you'd be like, holy shit, that thing's about to explode. If not us.
Yeah.
But some people, because they eat a pinky, but they're fucking as big around as like a smaller than a pencil.
So that reminds me of a video you may have seen. I posted it today. It's a video of a retic trying strangling a deer on the side of the road.
I've seen, I know where the guy swats.
And he starts swatting with bushes and a stick and
I think that was yesterday.
And beating the snake off, and the snake ends up
what?
Yeah, he beat off the snake, just beating it off right there on the road.
I mean,
and the snake lets go and takes off. And of course, on a non-reptile page, you see all these people going, he saved that. What a good job. That's great. And I'm like, okay, you can't tell me you love nature if you're okay with what just happened here. And then someone was like, well, it doesn't matter. The snake never would have been able to eat that. I was like,
100%.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I know it looks like a giant meal, but I mean, look at some of those like African rock pythons that eat in like giant
That
antelope.
might be the only thing that retic eats for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, like my bibroni, the males are tiny. Like the sexual dimorphism on that species is insane. The males are about as big around as my pinky, and they will take, a rat hopper, and yeah, they look like.
Yep.
But
and for anybody listening, a bibroni is Candoya bibroni.
The Solomon Island tree boas.
There you go.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Yes.
That's what I'm here for. You need that person on every podcast. Looking at you, Reptile Fight Club.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing with those. Like the Candoya. That's one reason I don't have them. It's just because if I have them, I'm going to feel the need to breed them. And I know that's everybody's like, you shouldn't breed just because you have it. Fuck you. I'm going to breed it if I have it. But the babies just come out so damn small in those things. Like you've got to feed them like lizards or parts. It's like it's the smallest damn babies. So
I remember
good luck with that, Travis.
We used to be able to get Candoya. We used to get the tree boas and the ground boas pretty cheap at the reptile shows. I mean, you're talking $10-15, and that's because the importers are sitting there going, yeah, it's dead, and you're not going to call me about a $10 snake.
They're one of the few snakes you can buy pregnant. Like you go to a show where they've imported them, like, we'll sell you this pregnant one because they know that, fuck it, I don't want the babies. You take this thing before it has babies.
You heard, Joe last week.
I can't remember who it was that had that a couple of years ago. They got a
gravid
female and they were like, I figured I'd have time. And 3 days later, she dropped 78 babies.
76,
like, what the fuck?
Was it last week we were talking about Wagler's Vipers with Joe, or did I have that conversation with him outside about how so many of them come in because the time when they are able to collect them is during their breeding season. So then when they get here, they're all gravid, and then they all drop all these babies that don't survive.
Yeah.
Because he was telling me about force feeding them and getting bitten by them.
Fuck that.
A couple of
And
times.
I was going to say, I don't understand the people that are breeding live bearing venomous snakes. I don't get it, because whatever you're putting them in, at some point you might go in there, even through parthenogenesis or something like that. You might go in there and find a baby where you don't expect to have a baby.
Yeah.
My buddy did that. He had a copperhead, and he went in. Copperhead was in the hide, and so he was cleaning. I remember he took the copperhead out, and he was moving, and all of a sudden, this little head pops up out of the bedding. He's like, "Fuck!" And luckily, he didn't bite him. There were 2 of them in there.
Yeah.
2 Partho babies just popped out.
Yeah.
I don't keep hots at all, but y'all can keep the live bearing ones.
Well, the other thing I think
There are very few people that I would like trust to have that shit under control. Like Pia and Cody. I haven't even been to their place, but I've seen
It's
the way
amazing.
they've got their shit set up. And like, I know that, if they had a live bearing event, those little tiny microscopic worms are not getting out of those cages. But like, I can list probably 1,000 other people out there that think that they know what they're doing with hots, and I would not trust them at all to have something like that.
I was talking to a good friend of ours this weekend, Robert, who lives in North Louisiana, and he got rid of a copperhead that he had because his wife wanted him to. But
and she runs the show.
Yep.
We all know that.
And I was like, he's talking about he always was safe. He had a shift box. He put him in that. And I was like, you do know that they can shed fangs in the bedding, and when you reach in there to clean the bedding, you can get envenomated by a fang. He goes, I know that now. I was like,
It happens to people with stingrays. Stingrays will shed their stingers.
Oh, yeah.
And aquarium keepers will go through the sand and end up getting stung.
Oh,
Yeah, I had one shed its stinger into my shin when I was like 19.
like that.
Yep. I was shuffling my feet and everything, wade fishing, and it's still
Like, motherfucker, you're supposed to swim away. I did the right
got
thing.
me good too.
But all right, let me get back to this one about the winter stuff real quick. Our buddy Drew Schultz at the Learning Zoo said, I already did most or all of this a few weeks ago because we had pretend winter a few weeks ago, and then it went away. But I wrapped the outdoor enclosures in greenhouse plastic and make sure that all the animals have insulated shelters that they will actually use. That goes back to Travis's insulated hides that did not get used. He checks the thermostats and heaters that they're all working correctly, and they go out early on the first few cold mornings to get an idea of where ambient temps, surface temps, and animal body temps are ending up. For indoor animals, I mostly stop feeding or dial back food for the North American colubrids, and otherwise it's business as usual. And then let's see. I can't pronounce this name of whoever is most likely Icelandic. I don't know. There's some J's and K's and some V's in there. I can't pronounce that. I apologize. But it says, I insulated my reptile room extra to keep all the animals warm and minimize the temperature fluctuations. Todd Autry said he hooked up the generator to the building. So he has the generator ready in case the heat goes.
It's supposed to get cold this weekend. Like the high on Saturday during the show is like 57.
Yes.
Which for us is cold in Texas, guys. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to have a jacket.
Yeah, I'll still be wearing shorts.
I'll be sweating outside at 50 something. Christian Parr, I haven't read this, said that the Herpculture Network had a good article about dealing with cold weather emergencies, and he posted that article in here. I haven't read it, but I'm sure it's pretty good. But so my tortoises, they're still in Louisiana, and I knew it was going to get cold 3 or 4 weeks ago. About a week before it did, though, I called my father-in-law who's watching the tortoises. I said, go ahead, plug the heaters in, get everything running, and let's monitor temps over the next week before it drops and gets cold. And so I made sure to get it all done ahead of time because I didn't wait until, tomorrow's cold, plug in the heaters today. You can't do that. You can't wait until the cold. Because,
it's like your incubators. You don't turn on your incubator when you pull out the drawer and find a female curled up on eggs. That incubator should have been set up a month in advance.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Or like I had someone buy a rack at a show this weekend, and then they had an issue with the heat tape. I'm pretty sure they jerked the cord when they were unloading it, but I can't accuse them of that, obviously. And they're like, I have babies coming out of the eggs right now. That's why I came and bought this. I'm like, you've known for at least 60 days that you were going to have babies. So,
that's one thing with egg layers. There's no surprise.
Yeah, you might be surprised by getting eggs, but
Yes.
you're not surprised that you're going to have babies.
Like my Samboas, they came a month earlier than I expected. but that's because it's a live bear. It's a fat snake. Sometimes you can't tell how fat they are, and they're babies. But I had stuff set up. I was ready for them. I mean, even a month ahead, I was ready for the babies to come. So like,
That's why everything that I keep lays eggs.
yeah,
Like,
there's
I don't
no
want that kind
surprise.
of surprise. Yeah.
Because at
My
the worst, you're like,
incubator stays plugged in all year. We're ready to go.
one of the worst, something lays eggs. You're like, oh, I can't do this. You can quickly get rid of eggs. Like you can get rid of those. That's why I'm always. It's always like it happens all the time though. People, I need this now. No, you needed it a month ago or 2 months ago. You don't need it now. You're past that point.
Yep.
So,
My first breeding season, as soon as I got eggs, I started building a rack. You know, like the weekend that I got eggs was building a rack time because I knew I was going to need one for the babies.
yeah,
And I built it with more tubs than I had eggs, just in case. You
Could
get a
have
twin
twins.
in there. It's pretty common for snakes. It's surprisingly common.
it's
Or maybe it isn't. I mean, Travis would know better.
No, it is twins are. I mean, I haven't had them yet, but anybody who breeds large enough numbers, frequent enough, you're gonna get twins.
See, that's the only thing with Samboas. I'll never know. I'll never know if there's twins with Samboas because everything happens internally and then a baby comes out. Like with boa constrictors, if you catch it early enough, you can catch twins. And I've seen it before. I've seen them in the same little sack and come out. I've never had it happen, but I've seen the pictures and all. But the way Samboas give birth, their live birth is different. There's no sack, there's no goose, nothing. They're just babies. And so I could have had twins, just no fucking clue though.
Yeah.
But yeah, winter's coming. Get ready for it. You should have already been getting ready for it. If especially the problem with hooking up, and I think that's another thing we talked about. We'll probably talk about more when we get into December. But this is also the time for house fires because you're now about to start overloading systems that weren't made for it. You're about to start plugging in heating elements that haven't been running before. On top of the normal Christmas house, like you just put a dry tree in your house and you put lights on it and they're getting really hot. That shit happens too. But with reptiles, that's always a fear for reptile people. Like a house fire is my biggest fear, because if a house fire starts, it's going to start in our reptile rooms most likely, and if it does, we're not getting shit out. Like once the fire, we're done for. And so you just got to be ready.
And you
for
know
it.
what? Even if it's didn't start in your reptile room, that's what everybody's going to blame anyway.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
true. And then I've always thought about like, man, if the house, assume the kitchen caught on fire, I can't get 70 snakes, 90 snakes out of the house.
I talked to a friend of ours who's had the fire last year, and he said he lost over $100,000 in animals, and all the insurance company was willing to give him was like $18,000 to rebuild his building, which is like 30%.
Oh,
That's all he got. Yeah, he's still fighting them, but it's been nearly a year.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Robert, forgive me.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Jeff forgive him, Robert. He's gonna freeze. And now he is still frozen. We have a frozen Jeff. Well, while he's frozen, I will talk about this. I did get good news for our giveaway for next month.
Oh,
I don't have one for this month. We may end up just doing like a shirt. The last 2 weeks of this month, we may, since we now have shirts.
I need to win that giveaway.
We'll get you a shirt. But next month it's going to be sponsored by our friends Randy and oh my god, my brain just went.
Scaly Pets and Friends?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. They're gonna kill me because they're probably listening to this. Randy and Eric, y'all, the ones that we got free pizza from Colossal Constrictors. They are going to do the temp guns, the little laser temp guns. One every week in December. We're gonna give one away.
Cool.
So for people that need to get ready for the cold, if you don't have a temp gun by now, you should. You can win one though in December. I love they're used by like AC people, the air conditioner people. They use them all the time for checking temps and stuff. But the reptile hobby started to use them and they work great. They give you a little laser. They show you what you're pointing at. They give you a great readout of what the temperature is. But we're gonna give away one every week in December. So Merry Christmas! Thanks to Colossal Constrictors.
Awesome.
So I'm excited about that. So Travis, how are your what babies do you currently have?
I have a lot of ball pythons.
Okay, well, I meant real snakes.
I have a lot of ball pythons.
Oh, what's a lot of ball pythons for you?
I don't really have a lot. I've got 1, 2, 3.
Oh, if you can start counting like that, it's not a lot.
I've got like 8 babies.
Oh, that's not a lot. Jeff
10
said he'd be
babies.
right back. Either said be right back or Brazilian rainbow boa. It's BRB.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's be right back though.
Probably.
Yeah, I would assume be right back.
But it could be Brazilian rainbow. We never know. It could be. So you have 8 ball pythons. Anything? It's probably all dark stuff, isn't it?
No, I have I don't know if they're freeways or super stripes or parkways, but they're pastel pinstripe, probably Enchi in there. They're basically just solid yellow snakes, and they stay that way into adults.
Fancy. Oh,
I have some pastel G stripe red stripes that are very nicely yellow.
that seems confusing to call it a red stripe and it be yellow.
Well, the pastel makes it yellow, and
Yeah,
there's
but
no
it's
red
red.
in
It's
ball
red
pythons
stripe, and
anyways.
it's red stripe. And Justin said red stripe's great when he makes it with stuff. So now everybody wants red stripe.
Yes, which again, I admire Justin for being a really good ball python breeder and stuff, but at the same time, like I had been working with red stripe for almost a decade before Justin decided it was cool, and I had so many people tell me that red stripe was a shit morph and a trash morph, and then Justin made clowns out of it, and everybody lost their damn mind, and I was like, damn it. Now I can't get anything red stripe without there being freaking clown in it, and I don't work with clown.
That's one of the few ball python morphs I do know and actually like. I know
Clown
that
or red stripe?
Clown. Red stripe is a garbage snake. Unless Justin
will
thinks it's with
slap you.
clowns.
Sorry, Travis.
It's okay.
But it's not a garbage snake because Justin told me it wasn't, not because Travis has it.
Yeah.
But Repticulture just posted, I think, that they're going to donate a $50 gift card for November's giveaway. So I will get with them. We'll get something up for that for this month.
Yeah, Brittany just messaged me too to make sure we saw it.
So we will do a $50
Thank
gift
you, guys.
card to Repticulture this week or this month. But we'll get that out soon. Anyways, Jeff, you were saying before you
Yeah, sorry.
close.
Some idiot kicked my power strip and turned it off. On my whole computer and everything too. So, Robert, do you make racks with wheels?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, my racks are on wheels, and we were talking about emergencies, cold and heat, fire, and things like that. My racks have wheels on them, and I got to tell you, I want it that way because, like you were saying, James, you can't grab all 30, 40, 50 of your snakes.
Nope.
You can't grab all 10 of your snakes
got
in enough time to get out of the
150.
house before
Yeah.
smoke inhalation starts to get to you or them.
Well, that's what Darren Watson said. He had a local pet store that had a fire in the ceiling, and all the animals died from smoke inhalation, not the fire.
Well,
Yeah,
That was
JT.
JT
A lot of his were
And-
smoke.
Reptichip. Yeah, it was all of his was smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
But my problem is, I always said I'd never have a reptile room upstairs, but when I moved here, that was the only option, and it's upstairs. So
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, I'm
I
fine.
don't like it either. Same thing.
Yeah,
Check them out
Mainly
the
'cause
window.
I
If
don't
they
like-
survive, they survive.
I bought for my kid. I bought one of those emergency escape ladders for his bedroom.
I had
Taught
one of
him
those
how
all
to-
growing up.
Yep, taught him how to kick out the screen. He has a backpack, an empty backpack that hangs right by his window. Kick out the screen. You shove your freaking pug in that backpack. You zip it up. He's gonna scream. Who gives a shit? Throw him in that backpack. Zip that backpack up and go down that ladder. Because the ladder's super easy. It just hooks on. You pull up one tab and it falls down. You climb down. Dad's not doing it. I'm just gonna fucking
burn.
run through the fire, or jump, and hope I don't break my legs. But
As a kid who grew up with one of those things, it's a little unfair to keep it there. I'm glad it's out of sight for your kid because let's be honest, a little boy or girl growing up with that in their bedroom, it's like I want to play with that ladder.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, he's
You gotta let me
asked.
throw it out the window at least
we
once.
have those for the girls, and youngest doesn't know where the one in her bedroom is because not that she would do it now, but once she gets a little bit older and hits that kind of rebellious phase, I have no doubt that she would start making use of that ladder as nothing more than an escape hatch.
Yep.
But yeah, as far as like the reptiles and things like that, getting them out of the room, like I was saying, chuck them out the window. I mean, we laugh, but if you've ever taken a CPR course, they'll tell you break the ribs. You can
Yeah,
fix
oh, yeah.
broken ribs.
Yeah.
You can't fix dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes down
I've
to
done
it, just start
CPR.
grabbing those things.
I've done CPR several times on humans, and if you're not breaking the ribs, you're not doing it right.
Oh yeah.
Most
You're
likely.
not. You're not
Yeah,
giving.
when the first time I took my CPR, it was with a wilderness responder course that I was taking, and the trainer said, "It doesn't matter what you do to them; they're already dead. You can't make them worse than dead."
Yeah,
That's exactly my point with the snakes and reptiles.
Yeah, like
Get them out.
get them out because, yeah, at least they're not dead.
And our friends over at Repticulture said a quality proportional thermostat is key. People want to spend $1,000 on a snake and then $18 on the thermostat, $18 on the thermostat, which I agree, which is why every thermostat I have, all but the one Helix that I have in here, which is still a good thermostat, every one I have is a Herbstat. I feel so much more confident having, and look, I ran for well over a decade on the cheap $18 ones that turned off and on. I had a little dial on it, and you bought it at PetSmart back when they used to sell
the rheostats. Yeah.
It was a little more than that. It was the ones that were instead of the rheostat, it was the on-off thermostat. It was slightly better than the rheostat.
Okay.
I do have some of those rheostats floating around here somewhere too. I have used those in a pinch. But yeah, I'd love my Herbstats. I mean, they've got alarms on them, and they're great, except for when the power goes out, and then you have to listen to the alarm yell at you when it turns back on. But
they do keep the temperature stored.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is
So
great.
you don't have to reset all that if the power goes out.
Yes, when the power comes back on, it's ready to go. So
yeah, and I see the argument with Herbstats in Vivarium Electronics, and for the most part, largely, it's a great thermostat, right? Whichever way you go. But I also see that the Vivarium Electronics, like their base model, not like their intro model or whatever it is, their base model is still on off.
Yes.
And that's why I prefer Herbstats, because all the Herbstats are proportional. Even their intro is proportional.
Yeah. And if you want to run it as an on-off, it has that option for some reason if you want to be a weirdo and run it like that.
And I think
it's
kind of important.
The Herbstats aren't just thermostats.
That's true.
You can use them to control other things. Like you could use them to control
lighting,
misting systems, and everything. So that on-off capacity works better in those situations.
Well, and I do want to give one other giant positive to Herbstat. So we're still in the process of making the zoo at my school. And I reached out to Spider Robotics and told them, look, I'm making this reptile zoo at my school. I understand if you can't, but I love using your products, and I would like to be able to use them. They sent me a Herbstat 4 and a Herbstat 2 for free to use in my zoo at the school. And I love it. Once I get the zoo set up, I mean, I've got those awesome thermostats, and I can feel very confident when I leave for the weekend that's going to be fine. I'm not going to set the school on fire, which would suck. I'd probably lose my job after that.
I think also some people may not understand the difference between a proportional and an on-off thermostat as well. And I think maybe it's worth explaining a little bit too.
Well, they also don't know the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer sometimes too.
Yeah. But an on-off, go ahead, James.
Well, I've told people before, you need a thermostat. I've got one. It's stuck on the side. It tells me what, I'm like, that's a thermometer.
Mm-hmm.
That's an aquarium thermometer. That's not even going to work for what you need it for.
If it's green, you're good, right?
Yeah.
Just don't let it get into the red.
Green is good.
Yeah.
Blue bad, red really bad.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
But with on-off thermostats, it's like a light switch. Literally they're designed for light bulbs. It's to turn them off at a certain temperature and on at a certain temperature. Yeah. But a proportional thermostat is like a dimmer or a faucet. If you think about a faucet with the gate valve, you spin it, and it's only putting out so much power. Whereas the on-off thermostat, it's all power, no power.
And you get that fun click noise.
Yeah.
Clicks on, clicks off. You can hear it from across the room.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, then there's also the rheostats. And I'm not saying rheostats are horrible. Because we talked to Kathy Love, and Kathy Love, I think they still run rheostats on their stuff. Because they've done it since 1980, whatever.
I did it for like 8 to 10 years.
Yeah. You just got to be careful sometimes with rheostats because of power surges. Rheostats don't react to what's happening. They control the amount of energy being put out into that thing, but things happen. And so you get these spikes and these lows, and it's not going to react to if it goes too high, if it goes too low. So there are drawbacks to a rheostat.
All you're doing with a rheostat is lowering the wattage on your light bulb. That's it.
It's like your little dimmer switch on the wall to bring down the lights in your room. It's all it's doing. Yeah. Amanda Reddy says we also use temp guns to make extra sure. Because they got all the chameleons, all the panther chameleons, and a temp gun is great because you can take a quick shot. Because so many of us and I'm 100% guilty of it. Don't check our temperatures. We really live in a set it and forget it kind of world when it comes to a lot of this. We assume it's working until we realize too late that it's not working. So a temp gun, when you're changing a water dish, hit the hot spot in your cage or your rack or whatever. Just double check, and don't always double check the same tub in your rack. If you're doing a rack, check different tubs in your rack.
Hit multiple places in the tub too.
Yeah.
And watch your animals. Your animals are going to be the first indicator. Is if you know your animals, you know which ones are up at the front of the tub, which ones are at the back of the tub with some consistency.
Yeah.
I say tub, could be cage as well. And if they're all sitting on the hot spot, you got a problem.
And if they never go near the hot spot, it's probably too hot.
If all of them are in the water bowl, you definitely need to check something.
Well, and Amanda, they check regularly with the weather changes too, because a lot of people, especially depending on how your house is set up, and some older houses don't have the great insulation during the summer. The cage is wonderful. The animal's great. And they don't think about it that in the winter, that spot may get colder. And so now what was normally a, 90-degree hot spot in a 70-degree cool spot is now a 40 or 50-degree cool spot and a 70-degree hot spot. And so, and Reptile should check your probes in your racks too. Tape wears out and the probe pulls out. It continues. That's a big thing. One is probe placement in your rack. Always put it off to the side. Never let it get nudged or hit by the tub. And the other thing is, the problem is if that probe gets pulled off of you, as much as even with the herp stats. Now, the great thing is you can set a low temperature. And if the probe drops below what it's supposed to be, which is what would happen if it comes off of the heat tape, the alarm would go off and you'd go, oh, something's wrong. But when it comes off, it is now reading that it is cold, and it will send all the power to that heat tape. And that's when you end up having issues, and you end up burning tubs and burning a rack and melting a rack. And it's because your probe is no longer attached. You're not really getting a true temperature of your heat tape, and it's now overpowering because heat tape will get hot. I mean, it will. I know we use it, and it is the number one kind of thing we use for belly heat on this. We talk about how great it is, and it is wonderful, but it has got to be monitored because heat tape just plugged into a wall gets really fucking hot.
Heat tape gets hot enough to melt itself.
Yeah.
And racks, tubs.
And tubs.
And unfortunately, your dumbass snake, as much as I love snake, won't get off of it.
Every time I've had a customer reach out to me because they had a tub melt from a heat tape, my first thing I say is, send me a picture of your thermostat real quick. And every single time it's a jumpstart thermostat, just about. I've had a couple of them that were herp stats. It was a couple of years ago, and I don't know if Herpstat had an issue with some Herpstat 2s or some Herpstat 1s.
And every now and then they have a bad batch of probes.
Man, I had like one guy, I paid for him to, or I paid, no, he brought the rack to me, and there was so much dirt and Reptichip dust and stuff caked around the heat tape. I'm like, bro, yeah, I mean, you created an insulator around this heat tape.
Box.
Right. I mean, of course, you're lucky it didn't burn your whole friggin' house down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it blows my mind. You guys wouldn't even believe some of the shit that I see from people that buy racks.
But that goes back to what Amanda was
monitoring
saying.
temperatures during the season.
Yeah.
So this is my.
Is that a Govee?
This is not Govee. It's sensor push, but very similar. But you can see when somebody in the house decided that it was getting too cold and they wanted to put the heat on in the house, and the change that it had in both the nighttime drops, the daytime highs, and my humidity. And because I pay attention to this, I knew that, okay, I need to go down and make sure that everything is maintaining stability in the room, because that's a pretty dramatic change into what's happening for how the system is getting output.
Well, that's one really good thing I see about the we can all disagree on racks, cages, or whatever. Yeah, that's that argument. But we are starting to get to where we are able to monitor things, whether you're doing racks or cages. So VivTech, plug for VivTech here again. If you want to save 15% on your VivTech order, it's Gumbo22, code Gumbo22. But they have a bunch of new sensors and cameras and all new monitoring stuff that you can use for your snake room, so that if you're not home, you can still monitor it and be in control of stuff. And Herpstat's working towards that. I don't know how much I trust their Wi-Fi units yet, but it's getting there. And if you hook it up through a plug that will allow you to turn things off or on, you can always control that from anywhere in the world as well, like the Wise plugs and all that we have in our houses. But a lot of these things through VivTech will allow you to monitor humidity and heat and keep an idea of what's going on when you're not there. Because I know for a lot of us that keep reptiles, vacations are kind of a concern. You know, how long can I be gone and we still be good?
Yeah.
Amanda already says, yeah, we have to change bulbs watts based off the season. That's why we check constantly. Yeah. What the wattage that would have worked in the summer in your house may not, or vice versa. You know, you get to the summer, you start using your air conditioner. And if you don't pay attention to where your air vents blow, they may blow right on your animal's cage. And so that 90 watt or that 75 watt bulb that may have worked fine may not work fine in the summer because there's cold air shooting down on it. Whereas in the winter, the heat's on. Yeah, now it'll work because your house is a lot warmer.
It's 8:41 already. Just letting you know where it doesn't feel like it. It's a great conversation. We're already an hour and 40 minutes in, but I know you probably have things you want to cover still. So I just want to make sure.
Yes.
I want to talk about the video that I shared in the group today.
We're talking seasonal stuff. Are you still keeping bredli outside in the summer?
I didn't do it this year. So what Travis is talking about is I used to keep actually 2 of my bredli. I would put them outside in a 6x3x3 screen enclosure. It's hardware cloth. It was like 1/2-inch hardware cloth, not screen, and it was raised up off the ground so that we didn't get any ants or anything like that. So I would spray the legs with like ant away type of stuff to keep bugs from climbing up onto it, and I never really had an issue with that. But yeah, it's funny you brought that up because I was thinking about that when you were talking about the Burmese python study. I've thought about actually putting up insulated walls and seeing how they would do out there with like plexiglass all around and then an insulated hide. But, you know, I watch things like Camp Kennan and James, I'm sure you've been through it with the tortoises too. Sometimes they're just feeding way too much off of that UV and not enough off the temperature. They're paying attention to where the sun's coming, you know, and I don't trust them enough that I wouldn't have to go in and move them into an insulated box. But yeah, I plan to do it again. I wanted to do it with my chondro, but I sent him out on breeding loan to Jason, so we can try and make more chondro babies. But I was going to stick him outside as well, just in more of a shady spot.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing the same thing with the bredli, but I didn't know if you were still doing it with yours or if you had found that it was more of a pain in the ass than it was worth.
It's totally easy because you could hit it with a hose. You know, you can hit the cage with a hose to clean it out. You know, because I just had wood planks on the bottom for them. You know, but as far as
I live too close to people. Like if I did that, I'd have to live way, way far away from anybody.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to.
Oh, you should see the look on the delivery drivers' faces. They're like, "What the hell's in that cage?" You know, they want to know. They're interested, and some of them will just take a different route up to the house.
Where my tortoises are in Louisiana, our neighbors know that, and so they'll always, like, my in-laws will talk about how they'll find like neighborhood kids up by a fence looking at them, or like even the adults walk up.
You can see them.
Yeah, if you drive around, you'll just see giant tortoises. Someone, I forget who it was talking to my wife when we still lived there. Said, "Yeah, my aunt said she drove through a neighborhood one day and there was this giant tortoise in the backyard." And he goes, "Yeah, that was our yard."
Yeah,
but a tortoise isn't like something people are going to be afraid of unless you're Owen's neighbor and the tortoise is chasing you down the street because it sees the yellow bag and thinks you're coming with food for it. But like tortoises aren't scary animals, you know.
No, my biggest fear honestly is my biggest fear is theft.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things that could kill it. Ants. I mean, we live in the South down here and we have fire ants fucking everywhere.
I was worried about it. Seriously.
You know, and disease, this or that is possible, but people are my biggest fear when it comes to it. And I know it's a risk with the tortoises, but obviously I can't keep them inside. They have to live outside. There's nothing I can stop that can stop me from doing that. But yeah, I have worried that someone will see the tortoises one day and just hop the fence, grab them, and go.
Yeah, that'd be hard though. I mean, it's gonna have to be like an entire football team to come steal a sulcata.
But it's not.
He's got smaller tortoises as well.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, he's at 90 pounds, and I picked him up by myself. It's a pain. It's not easy, But I mean, it can be done, especially in the middle of the day when nobody's home.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to worry about it. We had a turtle table at the nature center that I used to work at, and we ended up, I had to build a lid for it because of one of our American wood turtles walked away. And somebody grabbed it off the table and just left with it. So with turtles especially, oh yeah. With snakes, like even if I see, obviously I'm not the kind of person to do that, but if I see a snake that I really want somewhere, I'm going to take a few seconds to try and decide if it's really worth it. Cause you might run into the Bredli with the worst attitude that you've ever seen in your life, opening that cage up. And I don't want to deal with all 8 feet of it.
Well, then there's the other side that I worry about someone killing it because it is a snake. Like they don't give a shit that it's your pet and that you have it in a cage, but in their mind, it's a snake and they're going to fucking kill it no matter what. And so that's also, people scare me when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I think the thing that I was worried about the most was like wasps and hornets. Like, I don't know how they would react to that venom.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
You know, and that's the only thing that could really get to him. Like if I wanted to tear into that cage with my bare hands, I couldn't. So I knew a raccoon wasn't going to do it.
See, living in the South, fire ants do scare me. And in my tortoise barn, because I have a heater in there and it's separated by cinder blocks, so the tortoises can't get to it. But every winter, I'll get this giant ant mound that builds up at the bottom of the heater, and they use the heater as central heat. And then I have to go in, and the only thing you can use in there is like diatomaceous earth. So diatomaceous earth, and hope that I can get rid of the fire ants. But I mean, it's that or the tortoises freeze. Like I know the fire ant. Like when I worked at the zoo, every exposed water pipe we get fire ants. Every exposed, like Christmas was horrible because we had lights everywhere, so we had extension cords. So every fucking extension cord ended up with fire ants on it because they just use it as a central heating unit, and they build their whole nest around it.
Yeah.
And so
with the Bredli, that's why it was important for me to keep an indoor cage going. And we talked about this with incubators and stuff. Is I had an indoor cage going, an enclosure going with heat and everything ready to go in case something like that happened, or in case a storm came through. You know, you guys get hurricanes down in there in Houston, like nobody's business. So when it came to moving them outside, like we don't get a ton of natural disasters here in Maryland.
The amount of exotic animals you find after a big hurricane down here is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you find big snakes and someone's tortoise wandering through someone's house. Although the tortoises happen a lot because motherfuckers, no matter how much you tell them, your tortoise will dig. They're like, my tortoise is fine.
Yeah, we get that a lot. I mean, we're always seeing tortoises out around here. Yeah, just local groups or there's one lady in Alvin. Hers gets out so much she finally went and had it chipped. It's like, you know, you could just build a proper enclosure that just doesn't get out of all the fucking time.
Probably would have been
I did find one time when I was a cop, middle of the night, driving down the road. No, it was the middle of the afternoon, driving to a neighborhood, and I make the corner, and there's a big sulcata walking down the road. So I'm like, get out. I'm like, where do you belong, buddy? And luckily, the people had registered it with our department because you're supposed to register dogs and cats and large animals.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the city ordinance, nobody really does it, but these people had been through our Citizens Police Academy and had registered it. His name was Crush, super original. And he had dug completely under their house.
Not the other side.
From the back to the front. He had a tunnel completely under the house because it's just sand.
I only ever had one get out, and that's because their normal pen they can't get out of. It's cattle panels and they can't push through it. And then they could dig, but I have found that if you give them a good barn to go into, they don't feel the need to dig. They don't have that. But there was times where I would leave the cattle panel open and let them graze the entire yard. And I thought it was secure enough. I had secured the bottom of all the chain link fence. But there was one spot where she just bulldozed through. It was loose enough. And my neighbor, and he's I don't know, he's like 89 years old. He's like, I think your tortoise is over here. And I go over there and I pick it up. And I hadn't picked up my female tortoise in a while. I'm like, this is way bigger than mine. This isn't mine. I get back, I take it back and I put it in. I was like, 1, 2, 3. This is my fucking tortoise. How the fuck did I get out? And I had to go find out how I got out and everything. Oh, so here's the I always think people should share the negatives of owning stuff. So I had one female tortoise, 3 males. My big male, I don't know, after living together with him, one day decided he was going to just become an asshole, and he rammed the female into the corners, and he did it to the same small male. And they got scars all over them. I sent them to go live with a friend for the last year, so they've been living with her. The female was never quite right again. She's neurologically something was off. She would eat and she was fine, but finally, my friend last night, she messaged me because I didn't want to have to do this, but we're probably gonna have to put her down. And so that happened today. So unfortunately, it's one of those things that happens. And for some fucking reason, every time I get a free sulcata, they're all free. I haven't bought a damn sulcata my entire life. They're all males except for this one female. So I keep getting males. I'm like, fuck, they're all just gonna keep fucking hurting each other. But This one that I have growing in the other room that's getting too big is about to have to go to Louisiana, and it's a fucking male, of course.
Yeah.
But everybody wants a baby sulcata. Stop it. Please stop it. I mean, I love
Stop
having
breeding
them.
them.
Yeah, that's what gets. I have tons of friends that do. I have tons of friends that breed them.
So many sulcata babies get sold this weekend.
And I get it. It's their business and they breed them. But can we just all
But
agree
should
to
it
breed
be?
can we just breed redfoots? Everyone breed redfoots.
Breed
This-
spider
Russian.
tortoises.
That'd be
Star
fucking
tortoises or
awesome.
something.
More pancakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, even like red.
Apparently they're easy.
You know.
Are they really?
Man, Russell had some redfoot like this, like 3 of them this weekend that were just.
Repticulture said they
Orders.
won't sell sulcatas anymore.
Yeah.
Good
Well,
for you. Good on
part
you.
of the deal you have too, like with the pet stores, they order 24 of them. Probably 6 to 8 of them are going to die.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The babies. So
Well, and then in 4 years, they're coming. Will you take this tortoise back?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't. What the fuck am I gonna do?
I think a redfoot is a perfect tortoise.
Yeah, look, it can go outside
Mm-hmm.
in a relatively small area.
There-
You don't have to have a huge yard like for a sulcata because they don't have that much grass.
Mm-hmm.
They are. I mean, honestly, they're prettier. I like sulcatas, but redfoots are prettier tortoises.
Yep.
They're more personable. I mean, don't get me wrong. A sulcata will come to you, but a sulcata is only fucking coming to you for food.
Yeah.
Is why they're coming to you. Don't get your sulcata wrong. It doesn't fucking love you. I don't care how much you think it's a puppy dog.
Yeah.
I've seen those and I've worked with tons of
I
them.
don't care how much Tom Crutchfield says that it forms an attachment with
Fuck that. They love food. There's a reason why every time my wife would go out with red toenails, they'd come after her feet. They didn't love her. They wanted to eat the small tomatoes they thought that were on her feet.
you. Or like our friend John Grants that has the murderer.
Oh yeah, the unplug
unplugged
the
it.
heat and kill
Yeah.
all the snakes.
It saw the red cord hanging on his heater in the middle of
Jeez.
winter, and it got out of its enclosure in the snake room in its building and grabbed that red tag and unplugged the heater.
Oh, my
Sulcata was fine.
Kill
All of his big
retics.
retics and berms were dead because it was like 15 degrees outside.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like sulcatas, like there's so many better species to work with and breed.
well, and like
You know,
beginners, buy a fucking Russian. It's basically a
Russian,
tortoise. It's a
Greek,
box turtle.
Hermans.
Yeah.
They're basically box turtles that have the tortoise shape, and and you can live in a tortoise table. You can stay inside their whole life. You don't have to wonder what you're going to do in the winter with this thing.
Yeah.
Or buy a box turtle. Box turtles are
Well,
great.
can't.
you can't in Texas.
You guys can't have any of them.
You can be gifted.
You can collect them, but you can't buy them.
You can't have any of the other species, like a three-toed or a Florida or anything like that.
Texas, it's same thing with
Diamondbacks.
terrapins.
Yeah, the terrapins.
Terrapins, yeah.
All
I knew
terrapin.
about the
It's
terrapins.
just they did it by genus, not by species, and they do the same
Yeah.
thing with box turtles.
Yeah,
So you can
rough.
be gifted one with. I think they especially have a fishing license to own them, but
Yeah.
you can be gifted one. Like so, Katie has one. My wife has one in her classroom that was gifted to her.
Mm-hmm.
But she can't buy one. No one can buy and sell them. And you can only have 3.
I think so.
I think it's 3.
Sean
It's
usually
like
the
a
one I
hunting
go to
license
to
for
ask because he
venomous.
knows all that.
But
But I
that's
mean,
not a
like
problem.
a Florida box turtle is just a gorgeous turtle.
Oh, they're
Mhm.
great pets. Box turtles.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
they're
very
right, yeah.
personable and they're
I have
great
a box
pets.
turtle.
Yeah,
She
you
was
have one.
given to me. She's 43 now.
Wow.
43 years old. People
Incredible.
before me had her for 37 or 38 years. They got her as like a 2-year-old from the people who I guess probably wild caught her. And I've had her for 3 years now, 4 years now.
Well, it's really a shame. I say it's a shame. It's not a shame, but Texas tortoises would make a great pet tortoise.
Yeah, because they don't get
They would.
cute.
And they're small. They're easy to take care of, but they're also protected, so you can't even touch the fuckers.
You
Like,
can't even look at them.
don't go near them. They don't exist. They're like gophers. You can't touch the gopher tortoises. I caught a gopher tortoise in college, and for about an hour, I was like, I could keep this thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, don't do that. Don't fucking do that.
I could go to jail.
That was what I thought. I found it in the middle, like it was in the middle of college campus. Someone's like,
Wow.
look at this turtle. And I walked over like, oh fuck. And I grabbed it and took it. And I was like, no, I'm gonna let it go. And then our college owned some land, some pine forest that we've gone and did a lot of animal studies on. And I knew there were gopher tortoise burrows out there. I was like, all right, fuck it. I'll drive out there and let you go. But yeah, I was like, man, I can get one of those big black tubs from Tractor Supply and I put a light on it and I keep it. And like, no, that's a horrible fucking idea. Horrible. Because at that point, I'm like, I have this really cool tortoise and I can fucking tell no one. I'm like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, just think
So
if that
you
would have been in your
knew-
house.
You knew that you weren't allowed to,
Yes.
on top
100%.
of just thinking it was a bad idea.
Yes, I knew it was illegal.
Just think if you'd have still had that when Louisiana Fish
Wildlife
Wildlife showed up
Fish
at your
yourself?
house.
Oh yeah.
No, it's a really fucked up sulcata.
They might have believed you the way those.
That's true. They didn't know shit. So
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
with tortoises,
Travis had a corn snake in Georgia. You know?
I don't know
But
what you're
we didn't
talking
know
about.
You
The
criminal.
difference is if you don't know the law. You
They
know?
put you in jail right next to the drug
No,
dealers for that, Travis.
Travis, just tell everybody it had red eyes. It had red eyes.
It did, but they don't
Doesn't
care
matter in Georgia.
They're not
No corn
I think
snake
that's
period,
New
end of
Jersey.
discussion.
New
Yeah.
Jersey where
They're
you have
not
to
like
have the,
New Jersey. New Jersey's like, as long as it has red eyes, we don't give a shit. But
Well, Robert will
Georgia's
tell
just
you, ignorance of the
nope.
law is no excuse, right?
Oh yeah.
No,
Well, New Jersey. This is how New Jersey does things. New Jersey has the highest black bear population per capita, like per acre, in the country, but they've outlawed black bear hunting because of emotions. And now they're starting to have a ton of human bear conflicts because of it. So that tells me all I need to know about New Jersey.
It's the Stevenella, the charismatic megafauna.
Yep.
Is that what he calls it?
Well, they did the same thing in British Columbia. They put a vote. They did a popular vote, and they outlawed grizzly hunting. Well,
that takes away science.
90% of British Columbia's residents live in one major metropolis area. And they have no idea. Well, now they said you can't even, if you shoot a gun in the bush in the British Columbia, grizzlies come running because there's so many of them. Yeah. It's insane. They had a pregnant woman and her kid killed a couple years ago. They broke into their cabin. They live off grid, broke into their cabin while her husband was gone and killed her and her kid in their cabin. I mean, anyway, yeah.
Well, I get people want nature to work off of human emotions. So
yeah.
So Darren Watson, hey, wait, I'm in Jersey.
Let's talk about the video that I shared today.
Go ahead.
It was kind of cool.
Corn snakes with black eyes.
So a friend of mine, he retired from a local police department here. He was a crime scene guy, one of the best I've ever seen. He retired, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and he and his wife bought a place in Quintana Roo and Mexico and Yucatan, and they moved down there. And they've lived down there ever since. Well, he was golfing today and took a video of a snake and was like, "Can anybody tell me what this is?" It was not a huge boa, but
It was a boa
going across. I'm like, that's the fucking coolest thing I've ever seen. Just playing golf and hey, look, a boa. Yeah, it was pretty neat. Of course, you had people on there. Some of a couple of old grizzly tough ass cops I know, like, "Where's your gun?" It's like, dude, it's a boa. It's okay. It's not gonna hurt you.
It's getting away. It's
It was actually going away from him. And,
Don't worry, it's not going to make your penis any smaller.
Right.
It's fine.
And Neil knew what it was and knew that it was a harmless snake, and they obviously let it go. They didn't beat it to death with a golf club, thank God.
Yeah, I found cottonmouth while golfing. That was about it.
Yeah, I've seen lots of snakes when I used to golf.
I did see a giant diamondback water snake in the water. I couldn't get to it. I saw that while golfing. And then I've seen alligators.
Oh yeah.
But
I saw one of the alligators in my neighborhood lake yesterday. He's probably 8.5 foot long. And I see people walking their little dogs down there all the time. And I'm like,
have at it.
Getting that close. But every time you see that, same as in your neighborhood, you always see a
freak the fuck out.
"Oh my God, do I need to get this alligator out of here?" I'm like, you realize that 15 years ago, this was a rice field.
Well, the whole thing is it's very easy to keep your dog. It's
Yeah.
very easy to keep your dog from getting eaten by an alligator.
Yeah.
Just don't take it to the water.
Yeah.
Done.
If you see an alligator, stay away. And if you see the edge of the water, stay away.
Yeah, they're not a hard animal to stay away from.
They're really not.
I mean, it's so one thing I did post, I shared on the page this I think it was yesterday, was a Cape Cobra trying to eat a baby leopard tortoise, which I thought was very interesting. I guess snakes.
Travis commented on it. I think it was Travis because it was intelligent sounding.
No.
No. Brent Curio.
Oh, Brent, another venomous.
They're known for eating other snakes as well as
everything.
damn near anything. All my capes have crazy feeding responses.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, if you told me that Eastern indigos ate box turtle babies or, water snake or water turtle babies, I believe it.
Absolutely.
They eat the eggs. Why would they not eat the babies?
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. It's just so weird to think about something with a hard shell like that just being eaten by a snake.
Yeah, because they're not going to pass it. They're not going to pass that shell, right?
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
You think so?
I mean, they break down bones.
Yeah,
they do break down bones.
That's true. That is true.
I mean, you look at snake shit. It just
alligators break down turtle shells all the time.
Yeah.
Because alligators eat big ass turtles.
They do break them, but when they bite them, but they don't chew them up. I mean, they might get it into chunks, but
their stomach acid breaks it down.
Last one, I didn't share the video but I will talk about it. Anybody see the video of the woman moving cobras and then she slips and the guy picks the cobra up? They're moving them from tub to tub and the woman slips with it and hits the ground. The guy picks it up and he's holding it, and to try and keep it from like coming at him, he just like slings it around and then throws it in the tub and closes the tub. I'm like, well, that can't be good for the cobra.
At that point, it's you're the cobra. So I'm going with me.
Yeah, I haven't seen the video, but I've heard the talk about it, and the individual in question is not any kind of expert by any stretch of the imagination, but he likes to pretend. He slept in a Holiday
plays
Inn
one on the
Express.
internet.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
He's watched a Tyler Nolan video or what?
and the person that he is mentoring is like they're both she's wearing flip flops and shit.
Yeah.
I don't understand how anybody could think wearing flip flops when working with venomous snakes is a good idea.
Now, with that said, I did see some comments that I thought were dumb. So I'm like, well, I wouldn't work with those unless I was wearing steel toe boots. The fuck's that gonna do? I mean, and if it bites your toe, I guess you're good. But like big clunky steel toe boots are probably not the best way to move around with those either. Like you're not worried about dropping a metal beam on your toes. That's not the issue with this snake.
Yeah.
But flip flops are definitely always horrible. Anytime you're doing anything that involves having to move quickly. Just my fucking wife will wear them everywhere, and I'm like, every time we want to go like hiking into the woods, I'm like, put on actual fucking shoes. But especially like with venomous, you don't need any exposed skin. Is try to reduce some of that stuff.
Well, just think Katie's toes would be safe from the tortoises if she wore shoes.
Hey,
I tell her all the time.
I was talking with someone this weekend who we all respect, who's very good in the hobby, and takes great care of his animals. But he was telling me about years ago when he was in Arizona, he was at a very well-known keeper's place, and he was very, very nonchalant about taking out a black mamba. And we were talking about how smart mambas are. That's what brought it up. He goes, yeah. He said he was staring at the mamba, and he cut his eyes over to look at me to say something, and the moment that mamba saw his eyes move, it shot out over his shoulder.
Like that.
Yeah, he's like, and we both backed up, and he managed to. It tried to bite him, but he managed to dodge it. But yeah, we were talking about just how that mamba. They're both convinced that mamba waited for him, like it was sitting there all relaxed, and the moment he looked away.
I mean, they know eyes. I mean, look at like spitting cobras. Spitting cobras aim for eyes.
Yeah,
like they.
I mean, reptiles key into eyes. Reptiles, including birds, key into eyes like crazy. Like
there's no birds; those are government drones.
I was trapping some red-tailed hawks with some falconer friends of mine years ago, and if the hawk saw your face with your eyes, look at it, it could be a quarter of a mile away. It's gone.
Yeah, ducks
it knows
will do that.
You're eyeing it down.
When duck hunting, when I used to guide, we would always tell the hunters, "Don't look at them. Look below them. Don't look at the ducks as they're circling, because you're camo and you're down. But if you look up, shit, you'll lock eyes with the duck as it's flying by, and they're like, nope, you got eyes. Fuck you. We're going."
And almost every reptile I've known is the same way.
Yeah,
I mean, you hear like Justin and the guys when they were out in Arizona herping. They said, if you see a lizard or something on a rock, don't stop and turn your head. Just keep it in your peripheral, because as soon as you turn, the lizard knows that it's been spotted. But if you're just watching it peripherally, the lizard still thinks the predator hasn't seen me yet. You talk to monitor guys, they say the same thing.
Absolutely.
If you've got a monitor that's kind of twitchy, because it's it's the way monitors are, they can be twitchy, they can be very defensive, they can be very territorial. If you're in the room and it's in there and it's out in the open and it's watching you, don't turn and make eye contact with it, because then it's going to get upset about the whole, okay, now I'm in my cage and you're coming towards me and I have to defend myself and I'm gonna get all huffy and puffy. If you just continue to keep a peripheral view on it, then the animal is most likely just going to stay there hanging out and remain calm, because it knows you're there, but you're not paying direct attention to it, so it doesn't feel the need that it has to escape or defend itself.
It's not being predated upon.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about us as predators. Our eyes are on the front of our face. So if we're looking at you dead on. But, if you're looking at an animal from the side out of the peripheral vision, you're acting more like a prey species at that point.
All right. It is over 2 hours now.
Yep.
And it's been a long time
Time
has gone by
flies,
quickly. I know.
When we really get a good conversation going like this, it does, man. I'll look down. Please don't take this as an offense to any past guests, but sometimes it just drags. And
Yeah.
part of that is something I'm not interested in, or
Kids.
how my
James.
yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed tonight.
I have too.
I wish we could have talked more about the marketing side of it, but we kept getting off subject.
We can
That's
always
okay. We can always have it back on.
Listen, I don't know how to get in touch with you guys, so I won't expect a call back or anything. We can definitely do that another day for sure.
So, Jeff, if people want to get in touch with you, wait, what?
These people are like, "What kind of snake is this?" Just found it in my house. Big buttermilk racer.
Oh, motherfuckers!
We go out looking for them and can't find them, and this motherfucker gets one come in their house
Fucking love buttermilk racers.
right here in Montgomery County.
First time I saw one was it was one of those field guys that only shows drawings though, and it wasn't actual pictures.
Oh,
And
it's
and
such
it was-
a pretty snake.
And it was blue. I'm like, snakes aren't fucking blue.
Yeah, snakes are blue.
And the first
Oh,
time first time I caught one, I'm like, this fucking thing is blue.
Some guy in a hunting group this week. Somebody was talking about blue indigos and how we don't kill them because they ate rattlesnakes. Great, that's awesome. Whatever your reason is for not killing them, I'm down with it. And he started telling this story about 35 years ago. I was in a tree in South Texas, and one went under the tree, and blah 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 blah.
The other one said they were introduced.
No, this guy didn't.
Oh.
But he was talking about how it was just this beautiful baby blue color. And me and one other guy who's also in some reptile groups, were both like, yeah, they're not really blue like that.
Yeah.
They look black until you get them like at a certain angle in the sunlight. They post a picture of a funnel that's like that blue, like that chair. And
Was that what that picture was? Because there was no
Yeah.
snake in that. I'm like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is this?
He's like, that's what color it was. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. I said, you're either misremembering or you're making it up. And then I got the
Or you're
fuck
on
you, who are
drugs.
you for calling me
You're
a
on
liar?
drugs.
But yeah.
I do. Someone, it was either in that thread or somewhere else. Someone was also talking about how like all the indigos, they were introduced and they're not native. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
no,
Yeah,
Texas
somebody else
indigos
said
are Texas indigos because they're from Texas.
And Eastern indigos are
I'm like,
in the East.
they're not the same snake. You can look at them and tell
I mean,
they're not the same snake.
Yeah.
It might be one of those educated fool moments because there is a population of eastern indigos that was introduced,
Sure.
and supposedly it was the wrong subspecies to introduce in the wrong area.
Well, like they do with wolves. Yeah. But in Texas we have the population apparently is really good now. Even though the ranch I was on 2 weekends ago, the guy's like, yeah, I see 2 or 3 every day. We couldn't fucking find one all weekend.
This is what happens when you have people who know the animals involved in writing the legislation.
Yeah.
Because they actually get it right.
Yeah. Which is rare.
Yeah.
But
Very
all right.
rare, especially in Texas.
That is true. Everything's bigger in Texas except for logic. And backyards. That's what I find too. All right, Jeff, if you want to get a hold of you and talk to you, that works. That you can tell them.
No, hands of Jeff on Instagram. That's about it. I deleted my Facebook page about 5 years ago.
Sounds like a very dirty, like.
I've gotten hands off Jeff. I've gotten hands of Jeff. It's just hands, like your manos, your hands of Jeff. Look it up; it'll be there.
Just a bunch of hand job videos.
That's yep.
So make sure you
look and see.
Go to Google and search Jeff hand jobs. And I guarantee you'll find it. Make sure the safe search is off.
You'll find something.
And the volume turned all the way up. And only do it at work.
Like Robert said, DuckDuckGo first. Don't do it on your regular browser.
Travis, if people fucking your goddamn email. If people want to get a hold of you, Travis, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, you can use my horrible fucking email, asplundii@gmail. You can find me, Travis Wyman, on Facebook. I am not the motocross racer. Don't talk to the motocross racer about snakes. I'm sure he does not care.
You need to message him one day, Travis, and ask if he's ever had anybody talk to him about snakes.
Yeah, could do that. You can also find me on Instagram at snakes_n_bakes.
Yes, that's the one to follow so you can see all the stuff that he makes. There's a
I wonder how many potheads follow him because they think
that's gonna
they think it's
There's a construction company down here called somewhere in the south. I've seen it before. It's like a Splundi or a Splund. I always think it every time I see it. Yeah,
we have it too. Yeah, we got it.
They're
It's a
nationwide
national
tree
company.
trimming.
I always think it every time I see.
Yeah, they're arborists.
Arborist. They deal with trees.
Mhm.
Okay.
They do power line right-of-ways.
Gotcha.
That's their big business. Now I think they've actually changed their name now to Davy Tree Company.
Because it was too hard to pronounce.
Well, I'm sure that they're a huge corporation. They get bought and sold. And
That's true.
Yeah.
If you want to buy a rack, it's lsreptileracks.com.
Mhm.
Don't message them at 3 a.m.
you can.
Just don't upset
don't
if you don't
expect
answer.
a
So look, I finally did it. I finally set a thing in my phone where at a certain time my phone
Goes silent.
goes silent unless you're a preferred contact.
Yeah.
And that's really helped a lot.
Yeah. Well, because you can't always blame folks. Sometimes they're up at 4 a.m. That's when they're up doing stuff because they have different. But it's the folks that get upset. Like
it's the ones who don't. Yeah, when they send me a message at midnight and then at 3 a.m. send me a question mark. Those are the ones that I really have a trouble with because it's like, come on, man, you're a fucking grown up.
You know what? You don't want that customer.
You're right. I don't, because if that's how they're going to be with that,
If that's how they're going to be with that. That's how they're
Yeah.
going to be with everything.
yes. I do want to say something really cool. I have a project coming up with a zoo that I just finalized yesterday. That's in North Texas. This place is friggin' awesome. It's $175 per person entry fee, but you get to interact with every single animal. Like they do full interactions with their servals and their giraffe and their everything. It's
That's
a whole day thing. You could do steakhouse. They have a steakhouse, but then you can do like animal interactions after you or before you eat.
So the steakhouse, like when they're certain animals just die off, you go there and eat them.
Yeah. So
That's how you really interact.
they also have their giraffe barn. They have like a bread and breakfast room like thing in the giraffe barn that you can stay in that you can look out over the giraffes.
I'm just saying I've smelled giraffes before. I don't
Yeah.
know how wonderful it is.
I'm hoping, because I'm gonna be staying there in a couple weeks. I'm hoping that that was the deal. If you deliver it, we'll give you a night in giraffe room and a 4-course steak dinner for you and
Fuck
your
yeah.
wife. Yes. Raw Rachel's so excited.
Nice.
So
Bring the earplugs.
yeah.
So
So
you're going to get all kinds of animal calls.
yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be fun. But the place is awesome, and it's they're the people that own it are big conservationists. They've done a bunch of work in Costa Rica and Africa, and
That's awesome.
yeah, the idea that they have for this snake room is very revolutionary. I can't say what it is
Cool.
until it's built, but it's very revolutionary, and it's going to be friggin' awesome.
It was a good trip for you up north.
Yeah, they're going to breed ball pythons at this place too, but whatever.
Yeah, well,
He's from South Africa, so he likes ball python. I don't know what that has to do with him liking ball pythons, but I like talking to the guy because he has an awesome
Yeah,
accent.
ball pythons aren't from South Africa.
His
I'm
are.
aware.
Listen, I've been
aware.
to pet shops in South Africa. We have more of them up here.
Yeah,
We have more ball pythons in pet shops here than they do down there.
but it's
well, that's awesome.
it's gonna be cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
Congrats, man.
Again, don't forget to check out VivTech. Use the code Gumbo22 for 15% off. Don't forget later this month, later this week, I'll have our giveaway from Repticulture for their $50 gift certificate. Next month, we are doing again. Every week, we'll be giving away a tip gun from Colossal Constrictors. We'll be doing that. Again, if you are an artist and you would like to donate art to us to put on a shirt to help us raise money for the podcast, we'll get you a free shirt too. Reach out to me. We'll put it on the back, put your signature on it, and we'll do a limited run. I'd kind of like to see some of that. Don't forget to check out our merch. I'm still waiting to see the shoes that Sean bought, so I can see how our Reptile Gumbo podcast shoes.
Didn't you order them for your daughter?
She doesn't know yet.
Oh.
But yes, yeah. I mean, they're not for him. They're ain't gonna fit his feet.
James,
Although
how
they
do people
may.
get a hold of you?
Just smoke signals, squirrels, time messages to squirrels. I will
Homing
find
pigeons.
them. Homing pigeons. I really wanted to get into pigeon racing at one point. Thought that would be really cool. But then
Mike
I thought,
If you lived in Louisiana, they would shoot them and eat them.
no, they have a whole pigeon racing thing in Louisiana. But then my thought was,
You hear some cage out there. Look at that pigeon.
it wasn't even in the cage, although they would eat them. I just think so. You're racing them from one place to the other. Hawks still exist.
Yes.
So you've put all this time and money into this bird. And you're like, all right, don't get eaten by the giant predator in the sky, and you just throw them up there. Like that doesn't seem like a good idea.
We
But
can
that
talk
makes
about it
sense.
more
Perfect
off,
idea.
off air, but there's actually certain certain breeds of pigeon designed, like engineered by people to distract hawks while the others fly, like rollers.
It's
and falcon
like
catchers.
fainting goats. It's
Here,
like,
we call
yes.
these cannon
Yes.
fodder. Boom. Here you go.
oh,
Like
it's
they'll do a
wow.
loop. They'll do like a barrel roll.
But
Well, the
that's
rest of
Send
them
up the
flying straight.
special pigeons.
yeah.
Anybody bring the short bus pigeons?
Right. It makes sense that the Cajuns eat a lot of pigeon because in France, you go to any restaurant in France and you can get squab.
Yeah.
And that's, just a not fancy.
That's not why Cajuns eat them, because they'll fucking eat anything.
That's
It's because
right.
they'll eat anything.
You're right.
We don't eat them because of avian chlamydia.
They've never heard of that. They've never heard of that in Louisiana. There's
You
no
put enough seasoning on it. Zatarain's,
there's
it's gone.
no
Oh, yeah.
diseases carried by animals in Louisiana. Ever.
Because if you cook it with enough
Sure.
sauce and
I
enough
promise. Cajuns haven't found one yet. They've eaten them all.
Trichinosis doesn't exist.
But reach out is Reptile Gumbo Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and at gmail.com. Thank y'all for coming on. Thanks, Travis, for filling in. Jeff, thanks for coming on. Thanks for our awesome
Thanks so much, guys.
logo. I love it.
Glad I could help you out.
We'll be back next week with somebody.
Yep.
Good night.
Good night.